Yes, I'm sure I want to start the stream. Hello and good evening, everyone. Yes, it's on my channel tonight. Unfortunately, Olaf is feeling a bit under the weather, so I decided why not hijack the U.S.S. Bellend and bring it to the den. With me is Rasslin, and tonight we shall be talking about whatever we feel about talking about. Channel tonight. So hello, Rask. How are you doing? A bit under the weather, so I decided why not hijack the U.S.S. Bellend and bring it to the den. With me is Rasslin, and tonight we shall be talking about
That
whatever we feel about talking about. Channel tonight. So hello, Rask. How are you doing? A bit under the weather, so I decided why not hijack the U.S.S. Bellend and bring it to the den. With me is Rasslin, and tonight
and if you're talking, I can't hear you. That
whatever we feel. Yeah, I noticed that you cut out. I don't know what happened there. Channel tonight. So hello, Rask. How are you doing? Under the weather, so I decided why not hijack the U.S.S. Bellend and bring it to the den. With me is Rasslin,
and if you're talking, I can't hear you. That
whatever we feel. Yeah, I noticed that you cut out.
a long day, even though I had the day off.
Channel tonight. So hello, Rask. How are you doing? Under the weather, so I decided why not hijack the U.S.S.
But it's been a long week for all of us, hasn't it?
Oh, that it has. I am
And
in
if you're talking, I
fact
can't hear you.
dealing with the
That
fact that I burned my thumb on a firework fuse last night, and
a long day,
of
even
course
though
it
I had the
hurts.
day off. And I can kind of hear you.
Oh, we having that now? I just had to mute the stream because I realized I'm hearing everything 3 times. So if that is an issue for anybody else, we need to know so I can sort that out.
I am. Are we having a delay in channel?
I think we may be.
Okay, that was live real time. Maybe we're not. But I swear I heard from the YouTube before I heard over the Discord channel your voice. And that is not what I expected.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed I would hear you, and then I would hear it again, and then I would hear it a third time, but I don't know from where. Because I don't have monitoring set up in OBS, so.
And we're not streaming a video.
Yeah, we're not streaming any monitoring or videos of it. I had it on my phone
Per
hooked up
se.
to make sure that it was
I could
close
see
enough.
that sort of bandwidth thing just screwing with us.
It honestly wouldn't surprise me. I mean, obviously, I'm not as good at this as Olav. I am not a live
Not
streamer
unlike
by
the
trade.
static issue. Yeah, there's
Honestly.
something odd. You're trailing off at points. I'm guessing I am too.
No, I heard you completely. Is it just me muting my mic?
Things not picking up.
Hmm.
Ladies and gentlemen, real-time tech support.
I promise you guys, we did do a test stream before we started. We thought we had all this sorted out. I just realized I never switched to the image either. Great job. This is going swimmingly.
By swimmingly, we mean we threw it in a water tank.
It's a doggy paddle, but hey.
I mean, we are in a ship.
Yeah, I mean, no one said that the U.S.S. Belland was specifically a spaceship. And we have played Raft, so, we do have a history of being lost at sea, making do.
It's true. So, do we want to talk about Monday? Oh, Monday.
Monday, Monday. How we hate Mondays. Yeah, go ahead.
Four
Talk about
days
Monday.
ago, especially. Yeah, we had a little ruling from this group you may have heard of. It's called the Supreme Court. And what frightens me, I am. How do I put this? It is terrifying that the Supreme Court made this ruling. But I think it may almost be more terrifying how many people I'm seeing that I know applauding it. Like, I have 800 friends, and I think that's about to get trimmed down.
Yeah, I was about to say that is always the tipping point with some things is you see who in your friends group supports things, and then you start really thinking, do I want to be friends with that person?
Yeah, it's like. And then there's the people who go after themselves in that own way. It's like, you're on welfare, but you vote for the candidate who says he's going to cut down on welfare. Oh, he means the people who don't deserve it. No, trust me, he means you too.
Also, what do you mean don't deserve it? Exactly how do you deserve welfare?
It's basically it's coded racism. Let's face it.
Oh yeah, we know that. I'm just saying, I've never liked that phrase, deserve welfare, because welfare is not a free money system. There are requirements, and one of those requirements is to be at or just above the poverty line. So if you're saying they deserve welfare, it's like you're saying that they deserve to be struggling. How much more of an asshole do you need to be? Wow, we
I
get
wish I had an
super
answer.
political without him.
We do.
I don't
I
think
don't
we.
particularly mind.
Yeah, no, I just don't think we ever realized how much Olav actually keeps us in line from getting overly political. But to be fair, I mean, you did mention that little episode with I think you said it was a friend's acquaintance with the I don't want anybody with pronouns.
It wasn't a friend. It was something they'd snipped, and it
Hmm.
wound up
I think you cut off again there. Wound up doing what?
pronouns.
Okay, I don't know if that picked up on the stream or not. All I caught was
Response
wound up and then pronouns.
that a man he doesn't, and I'm like, oh gods.
It's just
I
one of
hate
those things.
his
Hmm?
strength.
I mean, it's one of those things.
I
We
mean,
go to
that's not
school.
codified or anything yet. We're not truly at 1984. I did trail off, but
Yeah. We have.
there is a point where I'm like,
And I'm so used to this happening normally.
yep, connection issues.
Yay!
Time to strangle your ISP.
It's not my ISP. It's actually my laptop. I keep saying that this thing is running hardware from 2014, and I
Ooh.
am pushing it as hard as I can. It's got a terabyte hard drive, and I think 32 gigs of RAM, but it's all old as shit, so it's still getting taxed.
But yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, like I said, this is one of those things. We learn pronouns in school. Now, admittedly, I never paid attention in class, so I was always fuzzy on what pronouns were. But it makes me internally laugh when you hear someone say, I don't have pronouns. And I was like, well, you failed English. Congratulations.
Yeah, it's. I don't know where it happened that you've got people who purposely want to be. Just want to be morons. I don't have an answer for why.
I don't know. I mean, honestly, the way I was looking at it is we keep hearing this when did the world get soft? When did people stop being so hard and everything? Well, in my opinion, it's balance theory, basically. I mean, when the world's tougher, we want to be softer. When the world's softer, we get angry and we want to start fights. So maybe that's all it is right now. We're trying to find our balance.
I just. Someone told me that Panda Express had quote unquote gone woke. And I was like, why? It's like, they got Beyond Chicken there. I'm like, so they have a vegan option. Yeah, they're cramming their diet down my throat.
Said to a vegan.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, did you walk into Panda Express? Did they physically throttle you and force the food down your throat?
They probably convinced themselves that's exactly what happened.
Well, you know. It's mind control. They hypnotize them into buying it and eating it and possibly even enjoying it.
Just the definition of freedom gets real selective at points.
Well, what is freedom? What are we free to do? Well, we're free to shut the hell up and let other people be people. And don't get me wrong, it's not like I'm a crunchy soy person myself.
Right.
I've been rather intolerant and rather anti-vegan for a while, but it's not like I sit there and scream about anybody who happens to be vegan. I scream about the people who are vegan and idiots.
I've had people try and drag me to a Chick-fil-A.
Uh,
Like me saying, I'm not eating here, and just getting out of the car and walking away.
yep.
They're saying, why are you being so rude? It's like, you're taking me to the vegan, to the transphobic place.
Yeah, I had an entire conversation the other day about that, about uh, why an older friend of mine doesn't support Chick-fil-A. I'm like, you know what? I get it. I respect it. It was like, honestly, I grew up with that environment. I literally grew up in a Chick-fil-A basically because my mother worked there, and it was my first job. So it's like, I get it. I know exactly what you're talking about. I know exactly the grievance, but at the same time, I kind of have to support it just because it's something I've done for a while now. So I don't like the message. I don't approve of the charities that they donate to. But at the same time, I'm not going to force anyone to go there. It's just like, you said you don't like it? All right, let's go find something else.
Like, if
Let's,
that's your paycheck, that's your paycheck. I get that.
yeah. But it's like,
That's a different thing.
even when if I'm just going out to eat, if I had like a whole group and everyone's like, oh, let's go to Chick-fil-A, and someone's like, hey, I don't support them. I'm like, all right, well, do you want something else? It's not that hard, guys.
It isn't.
And I think it's the language that they like to twist the language they use. Because they're always be like, oh, well, we have to be inclusive now, or we have to be soft, and especially woke. I'm quickly growing to hate that phrase.
Yeah, and we have to acknowledge that it didn't originally mean what what the right thinks it means. It originally meant racial awareness,
Yeah.
and it was exclusively a racial thing. It was very specifically the very legitimate grievances of African Americans thing. And then, like many turns of phrase, it changed what it meant.
Yep. I think something that I'm gonna put on my conspiracy theorist hat because I've said this for a while, and yet a lot of people haven't seemed to realize that it actually is happening. The whole point that I'm trying to get to people is that if there's a phrase that started out as a underground sort of thing, or just the kids say it or whatever, and suddenly it makes its way into the mainstream, you need to step back and ask yourself, why is it suddenly in the mainstream? And a lot of times the answer is not because it's becoming acceptable, it's because there are people who realize that if they put it in the mainstream and they oversaturate the mainstream with it, people are going to get tired of it and they're going to want it to go away. And that serves their agenda because that's what they want.
The number of people I thought were definitely not conservative who have suddenly said, I'm anti woke, is kind of nuts.
Yeah, and it's because of that. They took the phrase and then they were like, hey, what if we A, overuse it for everything, and then B, associate it with everything bad that people are complaining about, And then maybe if we do it enough, it'll go away because people will stop liking it.
And now it's just become a. It means damn near anything left wing now, and that's causing people who didn't hate left wing stuff to hate left wing stuff,
Yeah.
or to come out about it. Maybe that's not the best phrase I could have used, but
I mean,
reveal
honestly,
themselves.
we were talking about veganism earlier. I mean, that's a victim of the same thing. Vegan was originally just a dietary option, like pescatarianism, vegetarianism, all of that. And then the extremists came out, the extreme vegans who wanted to force it on everybody. And then people started using it to describe anybody who was annoying or inferior. And now it has a majorly negative connotation.
Yeah,
I mean, honestly, it's been done forever. I mean, you and I grew up in different decades, and in a much different decade than our current one.
right.
So, how many times did we hear things described as gay or
A
any other
lot.
such thing?
It what got me okay, I remember when that became a thing that people were saying, and it's thankfully been phased out, but there was a more disturbing phrase I started hearing during the 90s, and I made certain never to use it. I confronted a few people in my hometown for using it, saying, think about what you just said. Who would complain in that particular way? I'm honestly reluctant to say this on the air,
And
but
if you don't want to, you don't have to. I mean,
but I feel it should be related. It was a thing because it's so disturbing.
yeah, you can go ahead. I'm a
I,
90s kid. I probably heard it.
I'm not going to say it outright, but they would say that's so. And I just don't want anyone recording this soundbite and out there and just
Yeah, we're talking about that the other fun word of the 90s, which has now become the R slur.
nope, not that word.
Oh, not that one?
Oh, we go in another way. There was one person in particular I saw using it constantly. He was the one I confronted, but it got a little odd. I will just say that's so, and the sentence was derived towards those of the Hebrew persuasion.
Oh,
Yeah, now you know the one, and now you see why I'm very hesitant to say that out loud. Because it's horrible.
yeah. See,
And it should never have been a thing, any more than any of the others.
exactly. And see, I'll say it just because like I said, I was a kid in the 90s. I never used that particular description. But yeah, I remember a lot of people suddenly running around, and whenever they were annoyed, they would call someone a Jew. And then South Park started doing it. But the problem is, South Park did it in order to show how dumb it was.
Mostly by having Cartman do it.
But the problem being, then we got the reverse effects because, hey, if a popular show does it, surely it's okay, right? Well, did you stop and ask why the show's doing it? Did you stop and ask, hey, is anybody involved with the show actually Jewish?
It's the Tropic Thunder thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's that no people who love the movie, unironically, like they don't get the point of Robert Downey Jr.'s character, which very much emphasizes what he's doing is stupid and wrong. In his particular case, mostly stupid.
Yeah. I mean, everybody in that was a stereotype, and yeah, people just don't understand that. And then we've even got a movie that actually is basically the entire trope of are the people who made this involved in it somehow? or like, are they part of that culture or whatever? And that's the movie The Hebrew Hammer, because that is the entire
Yes.
point of the movie. And in that case, actually, again, that's an example of reverse, because I know a lot of people who have complained about the Hebrew Hammer. They're like, well, how did this get made? Because this is making fun of Jewish people. Why didn't this get canceled? And I fucking hate the phrase canceled. I was like, do you know the difference between a movie just making fun of those of the Jewish faith and or race,
Anything
and
by Mel
or
Brooks?
yeah, I was like, and people who are actually of that faith and or race doing it, it's that they know what they're doing. They have the knowledge, they know the jokes, and they're doing it out of the sense of just, oh hey, I'm poking fun of my own people, my own culture. It's not the same as just randomly deciding, oh, I'm just gonna say this because I feel like it.
I mean, I say this as someone who is what would be considered pagan by a good deal of the world. If I make a movie about stereotypes in the pagan community, there's a certain point to it. It is my experiences as a member of that community usually running into the stereotypes. And I would probably set it against, normal people within the community.
Exactly. Wow, we get much, much deeper.
We do.
This is about the time where if we were on our usual channel, we would probably have made 8 jokes and 7 different topics by now.
I mean, true. So, shall I go ahead and hijack for a different topic?
Feel free.
I picked up Baldur's Gate a couple nights ago.
I've been wanting to play that, but
I've been hesitant. I've been, boycotting a lot of Wizard stuff. I'm going to admit it.
yeah, well, mine's not so much boycott. Mine is the simple problem of I bought a pre-owned Xbox that was top of the line about 4 months after it released, and I picked it up for a song, honestly, because it was only about 230. And now,
Okay.
so Baldur's Gate should theoretically run on it, except no, because Microsoft decided it only runs on the newest Series X. So can't pick up Baldur's Gate. Fine. Well,
I mean,
hmm
if Nintendo somehow got a downgraded version of MK1 to play on their system,
yeah. Well, I was thinking, okay, well, the new thing that came out after Baldur's Gate was Elden Ring released Shadow of the Erd Tree. I'll just go play that. I'll download the DLC and I'll play that. Nope, that's only for, well, no, I should play, but that's 40 to 60 bucks I don't have. So it's like, all right, fine. Fine, fine, fine. I will download Final Fantasy 14 because currently if I try to run it on my computer after the graphics update, it gives me a DirectX error, so I can't run it. So I'll
can
just
you turn off DirectX?
no, because it's my graphics card.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like, all right, maybe I'll just download it on the Xbox because all I have to do is sign into my Square account and it'll run smoother and faster and I can just pick up where I left off. I still have a subscription until August. Nope. Not only does it only give you the free starter pack, which only takes up to Stormblood, of which I am now in post, but it's also tuned just for the Series X.
Huh.
So basically, Microsoft is once again going the hey, we made something that was slightly better and shinier than what we put out before, so fuck the old thing.
We are well past the 30-second mark.
Oh, yes, we are. I can start cursing again. Actually, the other thing is that this is such a much smaller channel. I only have about 37 subscribers. Pretty sure I know all 37 of them. So we can pretty much get away with almost anything so long as we don't do anything that is a major community strike. So no, we will not be streaming full movies and doing commentary.
We're not MST3K.
As much as I
And
would love to be.
that is another topic. Okay, so this came up a bit ago. Lazy streamers who were just there in the background watching in a corner, but not really commenting on a movie or a stream or anything.
Yeah, and how the community guidelines, which specifically forbid such a thing, are still allowing it. And their channels are monetized, so not only are they being lazy and gathering an audience off other people's work, they're getting paid for it. Hmm. I should mention that while we're babbling, I'm in the background playing Fallout 76, and maybe I shouldn't have sniffed the random steam pipe of ominousness.
I mean, YOLO?
I mean, it was just there spewing steam, and it said sniff. I did, and I kind of screwed up my screen. I don't know what it did
Wait,
though.
we all know what the real problem is. You didn't scratch it first. Remember, it's scratch and sniff.
Well, I mean, it was billowing out smoke so much, I figured it was just the newest bong.
Thank the gods we're not in a head shop.
It's like, hey, take a rip, it'll be fine. Then again, it's kind of dumb. I'm in Fallout, and it said unusual pipe, so granted, I'll give it that. It's my fault. Nuclear wasteland, pipe spewing out smoke. Yeah, let's just sniff that.
One day we're going to get an alternate Fallout where, culture stopped in a different decade than the 40s.
Technically that would be 76 because it's in West Virginia. So culture stopped at the 1800s.
Yeah, I can't contest that.
And once again, this is an example of people who are allowed to make jokes about that because yes, I have family. Yes, they are all in Grafton. And yes, West Virginia, especially Grafton, is anywhere from 20 to 50 years behind the current decade at any given time.
I think we can safely get away with this. It's like the equivalent of making a New Jersey joke.
Pretty much is acceptable targets. I mean,
I
nobody
mean,
believes me anyways. They're like, surely they can't be that far behind until I tell them I went up there one day in, I think it was 2002, and their Burger King was announcing their latest toy, and everyone was abuzz with the latest movie that just hit theaters, and that movie was Jurassic Park.
feel we're going for those residuals really hard then. So if we want to know what the original blueprint of It's Morbin Time again was, there we go. Side note, I will admit I have not seen Morbius, but just because I know it's a fun thing for people to say it, and although his reaction to the phrase has been lukewarm at best, I want Matt Smith to do some sort of Morbin Time video.
Oh no, no.
Oh
See,
yes.
I have seen Morbius, and I will say this. Somehow, I don't know how, it was probably just the script, but also I think Matt gave up. Somehow, between Jared Leto's Morbius and Matt Smith's character, Matt Smith is the weaker actor in that movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Matt Smith. I mean, granted, my first introduction to him was as the 11th Doctor, but I've seen him in other things. I mean, he makes a great serial killer.
He is a good villain, and that's the problem. He is the villain of Morbius, and I don't believe it for a second.
Okay, flip side of that. My sister will never watch Doctor Who as it stands for one reason.
Mm.
Her first exposure to David Tennant was as the Purple Man.
Oh,
So when I showed her a promo for Doctor Who where David Tennant's Doctor is using the TARDIS as a sled, she goes, "Why is the Purple Man being all smiley? That's creepy."
I was introduced to David Tennant as Doctor Who, so just everything else was just finding out how broad of a range he actually has. I didn't realize I'd known Christopher Eccleston before Doctor Who. I don't remember what it's in because to this day I never remember it's Christopher Eccleston until I suddenly look and realize, oh,
What was the first thing you saw him in?
that's what I'm saying. It's I cannot remember.
Let Him Have It, Harry? That's a big one of his. I found out years ago. Hang on, let me look him up.
No, no, he was. I want to say he was playing a villain.
And not Destro, I presume.
No, not Destro. This was way back when I was a kid, so it was the 90s.
I'm looking up his filmography. Uh, oh, some of these movies I'd forgotten about, like Existence with a Z, With or Without You, Heart, Elizabeth, Price Above Rubies.
I think it may, in fact, have been Existence.
He was also in Gone in 60 Seconds.
Oh, yeah. I think everybody forgot about Gone in 60 Seconds.
He was also in 28 Days Later.
Maybe that's the one.
I mean, his filmography for film at least starts in 91 with Let Him Have It. And apparently it's not Let Him Have It, Harry, as I thought it was. It's just Let Him Have It, which is basically a biopic. His television career starts in 1990. Stage career starts in 88 with a production of A Streetcar Named Desire. He's playing Pablo Gonzalez in that one. Huh, it was done at the Old Vic.
You know what? I'm sitting here, and I was like, hey, we were talking earlier. We're like, do we have a topic for tonight? What are we going to talk about?
Stuff,
My
things.
meticulous ass has had stream topics on my phone and like written around various places. Why did I not just pick one?
Because you were going to turn the list into a topic itself?
Perhaps. You know what? Here's a good one. I wanted to do this one on a stream, and I specifically wanted to do it with you guys. So tonight might be the night to do it. And that is, um, I was going to talk about how your lifestyle and your jobs influences your role play.
I mean, you're not wrong. There's also that occasional bit where you try and play the opposite when you break out of typecasting yourself.
Yeah, and a lot of people were taking it like that when I first brought it up in the group chat that I realized it in. Because like, oh well, you mean like I'm an extremely boring person, so I want to be an edgy bitch so that I can stop being boring. I was like, no, that's not what I mean at all. I was like, so I specifically pointed to one member. I was like, look, you, this isn't like removing the mask or anything. Everybody here knows what you do. You've said it a lot. I was like, but you've said that, behind the screen, you're an accountant, right? And like, yeah, I was like, well, now go look at all your role plays. Your role plays are very slanted towards, when it's an interaction between you and another person, it's almost always like there is a debt to be paid, you will pay it. I have a ledger, and these are the things I need to make it clean. And they stopped like, you know what? You're right. Yeah.
I mean, I know things I tend to play. Religious zealots is a favorite of mine to do, of different types.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I will occasionally play the meat shield of the party. I don't often play someone unintelligent, though I have done it, where I've purposely played a complete moron. Usually moron with a conscience, but not always.
I think I actually, yeah, I did actually use you as an example.
Oh dear.
So the examples I have after the accountant, another one of the ones that I role played a lot within that server happened to be a social media manager. And he's like, well, what about me? Like, you can't say that I have a specific style because I don't. I actually suck at role play. I was like, yeah. And that's what I noticed. So it was like, you're really good at creating new characters. You are horrible at actually utilizing those characters. I was like, it's all surface level, basically. Like, basically what you do
Well, it's
for your
writer versus
job.
actor.
Yeah. I was like, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just like, if I need a new character, I know who to come to because you can, like, snap your fingers and bring one up. It's like, but if I need to flesh that out, I'm gonna need to go to someone else. Then I realize, hey, I'm a writer, so I can create the world. I am great at setting scenes. I suck dick at writing dialogue.
I mean, I can write dialogue. I frequently do. Also for my other job with as an editor and writer for Steampunk Productions. But let's face it, in most role playing games, I'm just playing one person. I think the worst problem I can have is I will occasionally notice that I'm playing everyone the same if I'm DMing. I've gotten away from that, thankfully, by looking at how individual characters speak and occasionally just channeling someone. When I was the last time I played a British character, I was basically channeling John Oliver. And now that was one of my idiot characters. So I think John Oliver would have approved.
And I think maybe that's the problem I have with DMing right now, is when I'm expected to play multiple characters, I'm also trying to flesh out the world while I'm doing it. So I'm trying to keep track of all of that at once. And like I said, my dialogue is already not great. It's the one thing I hate about the stories that I write is my dialogue always makes me cringe. But now I have to do dialogue dynamically in response to another person as 12 different people. So I got to do 12 different personalities, 12 different mindsets, 12 different sets of thoughts, and make sure that the dialogue sounds natural for all of them. It is maddening.
The DM that can do that, the DM that can do that successfully, immersively for long periods of time, should be hauled off to Hollywood because that is acting gold right there.
Yes, it is. That is a rare talent.
Instantly being able to snap into character is something that is difficult for a lot of people.
Right. And see, and we were talking about how, a writer can do the world and they can do all that, but maybe they can't do dialogue. And then, like you said, writer versus actor. The actor can snap in a character, will know exactly what to say, exactly how to act, but they have no idea what's going on around them.
And roles, change. I mean, okay, bring it up. Chris Hemsworth portrayal of Thor, and we can also bring up Hiddleston's Loki while we're at it. Both of these characters have changed drastically in how they're portrayed over the last several years.
Oh, yeah.
At Thor 1 and 2, I mean, okay, Thor 1, kind of wooden. Avengers, okay, we're getting better. Thor 2, alright, the movie itself is kind of stupid, but the interaction between Thor and Loki is good. And we're going on from there until we get to Ragnarok, which is where I think the character kind of hit his peak and hit his current incarnation.
I
Because he
feel
has
like
not changed a lot since.
I don't think Ragnarok was a peak.
For the character, it was. I'm not saying
Yeah,
for
well,
his series.
that's what I'm saying is I don't think it was a peak for the character because I feel like when Ragnarok came around, they I don't want to say flanderized, but they definitely simplified Thor. I mean, nothing against Taika, but the moment he started taking control over the series more and started directing Thor and having more influence in the script, it turned from noble warrior with torment who's sometimes a jackass but has comedic moments and genuinely loves everybody to just a lovable dumbass who has absolutely no idea what he's doing and also happens to be able to lift a car and throw it several miles down the road.
I don't know. I mean, I don't see him as dumb when he shows up. Like, he has some truly good ideas. Like, look at how he figures out how to solve Ragnarok. And even Loki looks at him and says, "Damn!"
Yeah, well, and that's what I'm saying. Ragnarok is like the beginning of it. So there was still like glimpses of that Thor where it's like, oh hey, he is still smart, he is still cunning, and he knows how to hide that so that enemies underestimate him. But then by the time we get to I don't even remember. Yeah, Love and Thunder. Now we're dealing with a whole different Thor.
I'm trying to think of his quote unquote stupid moments in Love and Thunder, and they're not screaming to mind. His socially awkward moments? Absolutely. I see him failing charisma rolls, maybe the occasional wisdom check, but not an intelligence one.
I mean, the guy lost an argument with his axe. Come on now.
Lots of people do that. I've both lost and won arguments with exes.
I mean, to be fair, it is an axe that is forged in the cosmic fires of the sun, but that is neither
And
here
is a
nor there.
literal scientist. Oh, you said
No, no,
axe. I
yes,
thought you said
axe,
X.
not X. I don't even count Jane as being in that movie. I just did not like her at all. No, I was talking about his arguments with
Stormbreaker or Mjolnir?
No, his arguments with Stormbreaker. Mjolnir didn't give a shit.
I mean, to be fair, he's kind of arguing with himself. I mean, that's a lot of projection. That's a lot of self-anthropomorphization. I think that was the point.
Yeah.
It's or feeling guilty. It's like I'm going out on a limb here, but you know how when you have a dog at home and you just have to leave them at home, and suddenly when you're at a friend's place, because you didn't bring your dog with you, another dog leaps on top of you. It's that level of awkwardness. Like, am I cheating on my dog? Am I cheating on my axe?
I've never had that, honestly. I've always had the, hey, it's a dog. I like dogs. It doesn't make me love my dog any less. If I could have brought my dog would be right here with me. And then I'd have two dogs. But then again, I'm also
True.
polyamorous, so maybe there is something to be said there.
When my childhood dog died, my mom went out and bought a dog immediately afterwards and, just handed her to me while I was visiting and going, and I'm just feeling so damned awkward and conflicted because my dog has died literally less than a week before that.
Yeah, I had that problem. They went out and got another shepherd. That was before my quote unquote mine because I was the one he bonded with. He was technically dad's. But that was before he'd actually had to have been put down because of cancer. But
I
yeah, the other one felt like he was trying to take his place. And I was like, yeah, I don't like this dog.
Like nothing against the dog, but also the situation probably may have colored your like no one should be expected to be 100% in the right head in a situation like that.
Exactly.
And then my mom, yeah, I know I'm not going down that road.
There are things we don't discuss because they are painful.
And socially awkward.
Yes. But
But
it's kind of hilarious. We've kind of toned down our normal pirate personas.
well, I can go into radio smart voice anytime. But you're right.
Actually, it's kind of refreshing because, yeah, normally we're like, we don't give a damn about propriety or anything on this channel. I was like, well, different channel, different people.
Different topics. Like we haven't done a game night. I haven't had to use the phrase mastication and masturbation are just a few letters apart.
Yet.
Give it time. Look, if only one of us had jackpot.
I know. I mean, I was thinking that we already had all the shit with the stream going on. I was thinking maybe I just use the Discord activities and we can play like Gothic Phone or whatever. I was like,
I
but
mean, I've still been thinking about running us through a game, a campaign, or even a one shot.
yeah. But I figured let's get our first night streaming out of the way, and then figure out what we need to work on, and
Yeah,
then we'll worry about activities.
and then I've also considered just, hey, do we all want to play some Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat? Maybe
Maybe.
Injustice.
I was about to say maybe when and if I get some income coming in and I can
I,
upgrade my rig, yeah, I'll happily do that.
I mean, if you can run 5, that'll go over multiple networks.
True, true.
Like I was playing via Steam. A friend of mine with her stream, she was playing off. Was it PlayStation Network or Xbox? Either way, we were still able to run and fight each other because of the Capcom
I think
stuff
I
going in the background.
I think I actually did download Street Fighter 5 like way back when. But of course, not having anybody to play with, I just kind of uninstalled it from the system. But it's probably back in there still somewhere.
Yeah, I could bring it back up in just a few minutes. Honestly, on mine,
Yeah.
6 would take a little longer. I mean, like I said the other night, I downloaded the 150 gigabyte straight to my solid state drive craziness that is Baldur's Gate 3. So
In fact, since I can check that real quick, my games and apps. What do I have here? There we go. Looks like Street Fighter is currently off Game Pass. Well, that shucks.
yeah, that's the thing I don't like about when I hear about Game Pass is just the randomness of it. It's like I deal with that enough with Costco selection.
Yeah. Let's see, what do I still have on here? I still have Valheim. Pal
Uh,
World. Not as bad as I thought it was going to be, honestly.
let's see here. Things I could stand to install but haven't yet. I have no mouth and I must scream. Obviously not a multiplayer item, but
But it is so fun to make fun of.
right? Okay, so Street Fighter 5 requires 50 gig. That would be an easy install. 6, I'm still working out the controls because I just want my classic controls. I don't care what kind of disadvantage it puts me at. I've been playing Street Fighter habitually since 1991, so
I was going to look and say, hey, if anybody has any suggestions of what they'd want us to play, go ahead and put them in chat.
also Street Fighter 6 is $30 right now, down from 60.
Eh, there's one person watching the stream, but hey, you know what? We're going to continue on because that's what we do.
Yay! Okay, I could probably get 6 to work. I know I could get 5 to work. It's just a matter of the space on the solid state drive. And do I install another solid state? Hell, do I install an honest to the gods new optical drive? Because I could sure use it.
Let's see, what else did I write down? Oh, yeah, here it is. A DJ, while role playing, is likely to be boisterous, flashy, and showy because that's their routine.
For me, it depends on the character. I've done a bit of both.
Yeah.
Actually, in a lot of things, my character does kind of fade into the background dialogue-wise. Some characters I'm talkative with, some I'm not. My Sith won't shut up.
And maybe I'm willing to bet that's probably because you started role playing before you became a DJ.
It's true. I started playing Dungeons and Dragons in 91 or 92. It was 92 because I did pick up a. God, what was the exact year I picked up my DMG? God, in any event, I was first exposed to Dungeons and Dragons through AD&D first and second edition games by SSI. Funny story, if I can diverge for a second. I was in a serious habit up until I was 12 or 13 of buying and picking up Star Trek novels.
Mm-hmm.
Not novelizations of episodes or movies, just, the original stuff that was not canon. Mom wanted me to just try something different, so she literally just grabbed a random fantasy novel one day, said, read this, and I never got around to it. Well, not never. Because eventually, I remembered who those characters were, and the logo from the front of the book, and one day I was playing a video game we got. It was an Advanced Dungeons and Dragons game, and that didn't mean much to me. I just knew that meant fantasy as a little kid. And the game was Death Knights of Krynn. We also had picked up Eye of the Beholder 2. I had not played Eye of the Beholder 1. And Death Knights of Krynn is technically the second in its series. It followed Champions of Krynn, and it was a Dragonlance game. Eye of the Beholder, for those listening at home, Forgotten Realms, same universe as Baldur's Gate 3, or same world. They're all in the same setting, technically. So I go through, and we get to a tomb, and the character of Lord Soth, a Death Knight, is trying to resurrect, as another Death Knight, the hero Sturm Brightblade. And then I thought, wait a minute, that name sounds familiar. I looked in the back of the box and saw this Dragonlance logo. It wasn't on the front of the game box, but it was definitely on the back. I went to my bookshelf, picked up the book, and there was that Dragonlance logo, and the hero of the book was Sturm Brightblade. I still have that book. I still have that SSI Gold Box set, too. I technically have 2 copies of the game. I picked it up as its own, but I also eventually picked up the trilogy set because it was the only way to get Champions of Krynn at the time. Oh wait, no, I didn't. I picked up a different set. It was the first of 3 things, and Champions was in there. Death Knights of Krynn and Dark Queen of Krynn I bought separately, but Death Knights is back in the day of 16 colors, EJA graphics. But that's the basic story of how I got into D&D. Everything from there kind of snowballed. My interest picked, it's like, they put the rules in this book. I think I understand this. What is Thaco? Oh, I see how it works. And I went from there, and before I knew it, I had a DMG, then a player's handbook, then a set of dice. within a year, I was running games badly. I was doing Ravenloft Dragonlance crossover pretty early on.
I think the first D&D game that I actually realized was D&D was the original PC release of Neverwinter.
Neverwinter for AOL, i.e., Neverwinter Online, or Neverwinter Nights released
Neverwinter
by Atari.
Nights.
So, okay, so we are talking the game where you start in Neverwinter and there's a plague going on.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, I did technically try to get into the earlier version of Neverwinter Nights, i.e., Neverwinter Online, that was on AOL, and it was also a glorious 16-color EGA game, but it was AOL. What can I say?
Well, I
Trying to get that
discovered
thing to work.
two things about myself when Neverwinter Nights sucked me in, and that's A, I absolutely adore the Shadow Dancer class, and I try to work it into everything I can. And B, do not ever let me have a creation kit.
When you say a creation kit,
So the Neverwinter Nights I got came with the creator's kit, to where you could create your own dungeons, your own armor,
ah,
your own weapons, and they could be as ludicrous as you want.
I played a bit of with a bit of that. I, you remember my Vampire the Masquerade D20 crossover?
Mm-hmm.
I was able to put that in to an extent
Yeah.
as a class. It varies. It, Neverwinter being not a precise thing, it couldn't give me exactly what I wanted for sunlight damage and such.
Yeah, it took me forever to figure out damages because I was like, all right. So they had sunlight, they had darkness, they had shadow. And honestly, I was always like, wait, I'm a shadow dancer. Why would I ever take shadow damage?
You could probably play a Shadow Dancer in 5th edition as a monk rogue multi-class.
Yeah, closest thing is taking rogue with obviously stealth proficiency, but you also need to be a God. What is the term? It's not spellblade.
I was going to say, Spellblade itself isn't going to be a class,
No,
or a prestige class, because 5th ed doesn't have those.
no, but it's the whatever the rogue equivalent is nowadays, where basically you can enchant and you have slightly better works with magic. So the way I figured it out is you start out with an enchanting rogue, and then you multi-class into monk and focus on acrobatics, and that's probably the closest you're gonna get to it. So what I do is I just, hard boot the damn thing into the game anyways, because it's like it's a D&D game. It's just an older system, so all we got to do is tweak it to the new.
Yeah, pretty much. Certain classes don't exist yet. Oh, God, it's the mods I saw for Psionics in 3rd edition for Dark Sun on Neverwinter, both 1 and 2.
I think the biggest culture shock I ever got was when I got into DMing D&D because of my ex and his boyfriend. But he had an old stack of D&D books, and one of them was the 3rd edition Mysteries of the Orient. And I just
Oh, you
started
mean Oriental Adventures?
Yeah, I started
I
reading
have
that.
mine.
And I
I have
was
it right in front of me. I
yeah.
just heard that, and I can tell you what shelf it's on.
Like I read that, I was just like, "Holy God, I don't know what's worse, the fact that this is unbalanced as shit or the stunningly casual almost racism throughout the entire book."
Oh wait, you might not have seen the. That might not be the third ed. I think you might have the first or second ed stuff.
It might actually be the second edition.
All right, so there is a part of the Forgotten Realms that is basically East Asia. It's called Karatur.
I don't remember specifics. I remember more of the feats and the way they describe things.
Okay, if it had feats, it had to be third ed, but there was only Oriental Adventures, I thought, unless you had a third party supplement for third ed.
I don't know. I know it had. It was like a flavor for a monk, because it wasn't an entire overhaul of monk class. And then they had ninja, and they had a very stereotypical samurai class.
I am now genuinely curious what was on the cover of that book. Hold on, I'm going to send you a message in Discord, and all I want you to tell me is if this was the book cover you recognize. Let me find the picture.
Okay.
Oh god, it's the fireworks going out as we speak. Okay,
I'm almost
there
disappointed
we
that
go.
gamers didn't join us tonight.
I figured you would if I'd see your message there.
That
Oh,
is not the one that he has.
then that is the third ed book.
So yeah, it may have been a third party. Because from
It
what I
has to have.
recall of that book, it was much more theatric, shall we say?
Okay, that had to be some badly thought out third party supplement, of which there were many.
It wouldn't
Just
surprise me.
some were amazing. White Wolf, makers of Vampire the Masquerade, D20'd their own version of their setting, sort of. At least Chronicles of Darkness, Home of Vampire the Requiem, Werewolf the Forsaken, not Vampire the Masquerade and Werewolf the Apocalypse. Rules wise, at least, it was supposed to match up. Setting wise, they came up with something completely different and post apocalyptic.
Hopefully.
No, they did. I have the copy of the book. Now, we also have the World of Warcraft got done by White Wolf, or at least a sub studio of White Wolf, as an official release. Also, before World of Warcraft, the Warcraft stuff for 3.0 based on the earlier computer games. The Red Star comic book series, I forget who did the D20 version of that, where it basically leads like someone tried to make an anime version of Pravda. I don't know how else to explain it. There was some amazingly good stuff for third ed from unofficial groups. Mutants and Masterminds. Okay, third ed D&D, but there's no experience levels. You earn experience points over play and you spend them on things. There are no hit points, there are wound levels.
Mm.
And its second edition was amazing. Its third edition breaks itself away from D20, but, works off of its earlier ideas from its D20 adaptions.
I don't think I've ever enjoyed any system with wound levels.
Vampire the Masquerade has wound levels. Shadowrun has wound levels.
I have not played Shadowrun.
It's in its 6th edition right now. I've played a bit of that at conventions.
And to be fair, I also haven't played Vampire the Masquerade. I know about it because my siblings have the books. I don't know if they ever actually played themselves. But again, when I was reading them, I was anywhere from like 6 to 9 years old. So creating a post-apocalyptic vampire brouhaha, probably not in my wheelhouse.
Well, the standard game is not post-apocalyptic. That was just, one thing White Wolf put off as a one-shot book. But it was just called Monty Cook's World of Darkness. There are so many games that use wound levels instead of some equivalent to hit points. That are my library would terrify you.
Or
It takes
excite
up
me.
2 rooms. I have DM screens going back to first edition.
See, that's the thing. I'm never quite terrified of learning a system. It's just more of the how dense did they make the manual?
So obviously, we want you to don't touch Fatal. That is the worst one.
Oh
If
God.
if if Fatal if Fatal wasn't serious, or sorry, if Fatal hadn't been made as a joke, if Fatal had been made as a joke, now that I think about it, I would have thought it was satire of GURPS. GURPS can get kind of crunchy.
Yeah, I've
It,
seen a GURPS manual, and that did make me step back. I was like, do I really want to do this?
I love Hero 6th edition, but it too, like previous editions, can get kind of crunchy.
No,
It does it in a good way, but I have to admit it should not be anyone's first RPG.
yeah, I was gonna joke that we keep getting shut down when we mention Fatal. Maybe we should discuss it in length or run a scene from it in
Oh
one
gods, no,
stream,
no, no. All you have to, folks at home, here's what you need to know about Fatal.
as we have said many times.
There are rules for anal penetration. There, we've said all we ever need to say about Fatal.
Penetration, circumference. I believe there is, in
Yes,
fact, there's a capacity as well, is there not?
I don't remember, and I'm happy not remembering.
I have the Fatal handbook somewhere on my hard drive. I will have to look it up.
If I found a hard copy, I would consider picking that up as long as it wasn't ridiculously expensive.
But the
I'm
question
not sure I would
is,
even pay cover price, truth be told.
the question is, which hard copy?
There were only 2 lengths. One of them, though, oh gods.
Well, it's not the length. It's the what is how do we want to put it? Because it's not edition either.
It's level of. The completionist in me wants one of both to show varying degrees of how not to write a game.
Yeah, see, and that's how I would want to be. Is if I had the choice between one, I would want the original. But
Fair.
but if they have from another time, another land, I'll just be like, yeah, no, because that is not what that originally meant.
Now, other complicated crunch-heavy systems. Okay, AD&D First and Second Edition can both get inadvertently crunch-heavy, especially the further into them you get. Let's remember that First Edition went from 78 to 89, Second from 89 to 2000, and in that time, they got more crunch-heavy, not less. Let me give you an example. So the Dark Sun setting comes out in 1991, the first version. Shattered Lands, those of you who are familiar with the computer games, was an excellent adaptation. Wake of the Ravager, not so much. But characters in Dark Sun have higher strength scores usually. Instead of rolling your usual 3d6, like you typically did back then for an ability score, players rolled 4d4 plus 4, giving you an ability score anywhere from 8 to 20.
Hmm.
So, when the 2.5, so to speak, version of that came out, how to put this? They kept the ability spread you could have, but then they had alternate tables for strength and constitution inside the character creation guide, which kind of negated the whole point. You have a higher strength score, but it means less. And it's like, well, then why not just keep to the base ones in the player's handbook if that's the case? It was a decision I don't understand to this day. There were good things in that thing, like it came with a cloth map that I still have to this day, but There were such horrible ideas. Horrible, horrible ideas.
Hmm. Actually, it's been mentioned to me twice now, and I've been meaning to talk to you about it because I trust you more than I do the other two people have mentioned it. But the newest edition of the D&D handbook that is coming out.
I know actually not a whole lot about it because, again, with the exceptions of two Dragonlance novels and the very recent decision to pick up Baldur's Gate 3 because I know just how little now that Wizards makes off an individual sale of it, I've been not really picking up a whole lot. I have no problem playing my existing stuff, and if Wizards drops this for free, which they might, not as a physical copy, but of course PDFs online and such, I might go ahead and play with it. But I have not really looked into it, I'll admit. I would be willing to look into it, and I have, of course, not really plonked any money down on it.
Yeah. And see, I've heard conflicting reports because one said it was just retooling of 5e again. And then the
I've,
other said,
yeah.
"Oh no, it's actually 6e."
You know what? There's one great way to check, and that is looking at a character sheet. So let's go over to the Wizards website. I'm going there right now against my better judgment. D&D, okay. Alright, New Core Rulebooks, 2024 edition. Okay, other problems with D&D aside, if anyone is allowed to have a 6th edition and just say it outright, it is D&D, because that goes back all the way to original D&D, pre-AD&D, back in the 70s, following up hot on the heels of chainmail.
I mean, honestly, I think it's about time we have a 6e, but we also
I'm
we need to address some of the big issues with 5e, like some of the oversimplification and the balancing issues that came from taking out all that shit.
It's not that third didn't have its problems, and you've probably heard me speak on 4th edition. Let me speak the opposite of what I would normally do. I'm going to say what I didn't like about third and what I did like about 4th. What Third Ed shouldn't have done is it removed all Constitution scores from undead and constructs and similar things. I'm like, why? You just complicate things more doing that. Especially for people wanting to play these things in video games. You could absolutely play an undead player character back then, but it was kind of convoluted if your undead, wizard or undead barbarian didn't matter. Rolled a d12 for hit points either way, but didn't take a Constitution bonus or penalty. The fact that the multiclassing worked in such a way as you got a bunch of immediate bumps to saving throws at the first level of any class, kind of convoluted. D20 Modern came out with a better way to do it at the time. D20 Modern also basically had 6 core classes, one for each of the ability scores: strong hero, fast hero, stalwart hero, etc. Sorry, tough hero, not stalwart. Then the others were dedicated, smart, and charismatic. So, and everything flew from there. Third Ed evolved severely over its course from 3.0 in 2000 to 3.5 in 2003 up till its end in 2008 with the release of 4th edition. We had been joking up to that point that, hey, there's a new edition every 11 years, so we were expecting 4th edition in 2011, and maybe if they had waited 3 more years, things would have gone a little more swimmingly. 4th edition, for all the issues I have with it, it addressed a couple of major things. One, give spellcasters something to do constantly. So there were a bunch of at-will spellcasts that weren't expended when you used them. This was long overdue and was so simple it was brilliant. It is so brilliant that regardless of the problems people had with 4th edition, is part that went over and got copied into both Pathfinder and 5th edition. Fighters having more tricks and stunts up their sleeve than just a new melee-based or occasionally range-based feat every few levels. Fourth Ed was a game that demanded to be played with miniatures, but they did find ways to make that jazzy up. And those are the things I think stand out the most with those additions. 5th Ed does simplify, and 5th Ed is not balanced. But 5th Ed was geared towards doing one thing and one thing alone. Make sure everyone has something to do at all times. Make sure everyone can contribute to the party. So the idea was to not have people be sitting on their asses the whole time while someone else is constantly in the spotlight because they're the most versatile.
Yep.
And 5th Ed delivered on that beautifully. Regardless of all the other problems I've had with Wizards of the Coast over the last few years, regardless of the fact that there are little problems I have with 5th Ed. In fact, I think I would narrow them down to I wish they had different hit modifiers for each class, or at least each type of class. And I kind of wish we had skill points back from 3rd Ed, because I loved them that way. Especially the flexibility of buying and customizing them. I think my big thing is I like more customization, and that's why I have so many fond memories of 3rd Ed.
I mean, I can agree with that, because I like customization too. And 5e always kind of felt like there's a limit to it.
5e has more customization than 4th Ed, less than 3rd, and arguably infinitely more than 2nd. Like, 5e takes 2nd edition as an inspiration, but you have so much more you can do with a character that you couldn't in 2nd Ed. 2nd Ed was a ton of bookkeeping just to write down the same generic choices over and over again with no real choice to it. Are you a warrior? Well, it makes damn good sense to take the long sword and are you a fighter, I should say, because warrior was a grouping of classes. You are going insane if you don't take a long sword and a shield as your main two weapons. Little things like that.
Yeah.
Like a World of Warcraft skill tree in which there is only one correct choice.
Honestly, I don't know if I brought it up, was it 2 weeks ago when we were doing the things that DMs can do to mess with their players? I think that was when it was, but yeah, I don't think I brought it up then, but I did find a brilliant idea where someone was like, alright, well, my characters, my players, they love to run and do dungeons and always love the versatility of a villain. It's like, but lately they've been wanting to fight a lich. He's like, I did not tell them the special way that I fight, or that I make liches. He's like, I do run liches, but the lich has all the abilities from previous editions.
Oh yeah, you were telling me.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense because he's so goddamn old. Why would he follow current rules?
They did that in Order of the Stick, because Order of the Stick started back in the 3rd Ed days.
Yeah.
And there was a chasm in the dungeon the characters had to cross a bridge over. And they go, what's down there? It's all the creatures from 1st and 2nd edition that never got converted. What happens if you fall down? The rules don't know, so you're stuck in limbo forever, as they never resolve. Alright, I'm looking on the D&D website for a character sheet. I just want the sheet. I don't want it to run me through a character process. But I'll know real quick if we're dealing with a 5th Ed game, we're close enough to it. Oh my god. Okay. I'm going to have to do a generic web search. Okay, there's them themselves doing selling character sheets, hard copies for 15 bucks. That 15 bucks gets you 50 double-sided sheets. I've seen worse deals back in the second edition days, so okay. I'm looking over the sheet. It doesn't look too different. Someone posted a version. What I've heard is that you can easily take a 5th edition character into the new game, but not vice versa. That makes a certain amount of sense if you followed, say, how a Ranger changed from 3.0 to 3.5.
Hmm. Well, like I said, I don't know if we're even going to get a 6E. Maybe, maybe not.
I mean, it could be called that after the fact. 4th edition Vampire is effectively Vampire 20th Anniversary Edition, which was never called that while it was released. But the next edition of Vampire the Masquerade that was released was called 5th edition. Released in 2018, just a couple of months before Gen Con of that year. I'm seeing these D&D starter set box sets here, and I still have my copy of 2nd edition First Quest, the box set, released in 1994 or 95. Looking at it, it's 94. I can tell because of the type of logo that's on it. So in 1994, TSR changed their company's logo from the gold plate to the dragon shield. In 1995, they removed the old D&D logo that had the dragon breath ampersand on it, you know, the and in D&D,
Mm-hmm.
and just turned it to a normal ampersand with a very generic looking logo. And it was like, why are you doing this? There's fan outcry. No one likes this.
It kind of irks me the fact that you can't even look up D and D as D ampersand D. You have to put D lowercase in D.
No, you can do it that way. I just I do D ampersand D all the time.
Almost every time I do it, it corrects me or it just sends me to a site where it's like, no, it's a lowercase n. I was like, but why? It's D
Yeah, I
and D, not D in D.
okay. Roll 20 has a copy. Let's see this because I'd rather have one that I could look at. People like the look better, apparently. Others are calling it a new coat of paint, but a welcome coat of paint. Come on, just give me the actual sheet and let me play around with it. I don't even need to be able to write on it. I just want to look at it and just go through a checklist in my brain. Oh, okay, so this is one that's meant to be cross-compatible with 5th Ed and 2024.
Hmm. I was about to say, finding this sheet is starting to sound like finding that one toy that everybody wants for Christmas.
Yeah, now imagine that everyone can have an Elmo. They have an infinite Elmo cloning machine, but you still can't find one. There's no excuse anymore. Okay, the official release date for the sheets is September 7th. You know, I'm curious. Let me see. Where is the new rulebooks? What date do they release?
Do I have anything that does fire damage right now?
Because I am going to Gen Con in just under a month.
I have a Molotov. Can I light a ritual fire with a Molotov?
I don't see why not.
Because it's Fallout and they do weird shit like that. And the answer is no. No, I cannot.
I do not like what they're doing here. Okay, when kids gather around, because in 3rd edition, all 3 core rulebooks released at the start in a box set. And guess how much they were? Well, maybe they didn't release all at the same time, but they all, when they released and you could get the carrier for them, it was $20 a pop. You could get all 3 books for $60. That was insane even for then, for those who don't want to know. When the 5th edition book came out in 2014, it was more than double that. It was at 50. When D&D 3.5 came out in 2003, it was already 30. And I would feel a lot better about those prices if Wizards would pay their artists more often. Fun fact, in the last year I prevented myself from spending $100 on the new Planescape box set because of Wizards' practices. And they have been caught using AI to generate content recently.
Oh, yeah. No, Wizards has not been in a good place recently.
And it's like they keep getting called out and they keep doubling down, and I'm like, I'm not giving you guys money.
My biggest straw was personally when we had that whole, oh well, we're changing that in perpetuity contract. I was like, it's not what that means, but okay.
Yeah, and then there was the Pinkerton incident, and then the Spelljammer incident, which was before both of those.
I'm still fuzzy on the Pinkerton incident.
Okay, this is not a D&D incident itself. It's technically a Magic the Gathering one. But you know how the Pinkerton Detective Agency is still technically a real-life thing, even today?
Mm-hmm.
Wizards accidentally sent someone an exclusive they shouldn't have, and the person who was sent it wound up showing it on his YouTube channel, and he shouldn't have. But Wizards hired the Pinkertons to physically harass him.
Right. Now I remember. Yeah.
It's like when they're showing up at your door, that is like, no, you do. This is not good optics. Even if Wizard, yeah. Watch me get those two confused. Did Wizards have something of a valid point to be concerned? Absolutely. A cease and desist, even a lawsuit, and I wouldn't have screamed bloody murder, but they hired the fucking Pinkertons.
Yeah, I was about to say, a cease and desist, and if they did it again, lawsuit, have to sign a deep,
Right.
Like
This
NDAs, but yeah, you'd have to sign an NDA.
This is a little like Microsoft going out and trying to get a contract going with IBM, but then saying, hey, we want specifically the branch that dealt with the Nazis during World War II. It's like, really? That's the way you want? That's what you want to do? Okay. It's, optics are a thing, people.
But we're a major company. We have money. We don't need optics.
If you lose money, because I was a lifelong fan of D&D, and when TSR went bankrupt in '96, I was crestfallen. But this was still when D&D, Hasbro hadn't bought WotC and WotC hadn't bought TSR yet, and so they were more of a small company, even if D&D was a recognized, almost worldwide household name even then. Remember, there was a D&D cartoon on Saturday mornings in the 80s that went for a few seasons.
And let's not forget the Satanic Panic.
Oh, Nelly. But, yeah. And, for me, the guy who has been a gamer for a D&D player for well over 30 years, to lose my shopping dollar, you have to do something vile. And they've gone and done that with the multiple layoffs and Oh God, it's like it's pick your poison here. Okay, so the new books are going to be about $60. They do have a digital package where you get physical plus digital for a grand total of 180. Even if I wasn't protesting, I would feel no real compulsion to get these other than my inner collector, which is basically given up, of course. And I hate to say this, but even in 5th edition, which I do love as a game system, most of their releases were modules, and I'm the kind of guy who doesn't want to buy modules. I want to buy campaign settings. And they didn't really start releasing those, with the exception of Spelljammer, until they were becoming a gaff a minute company. And I was like, I picked up Spelljammer, and that was basically the last official Wizards complete, all the money is going to Wizards product I bought. I picked up Dragonlance novels directly from Margaret and Tracy the last two Gen Cons. I'm probably picking up the third in the series this year. But, that's where we're at.
Yep.
Changes to Wild Shape, Circle of the Moon Druid, 2024 Warlock versus 2014 Warlock. Yeah, this is feeling more and more like a 3 point. Without being able to delve in severely, this is looking and feeling like the change between 3.0 and 3.5. So very gradual.
Hmm.
Like, hats off to them for saying, yes, your 5th ed stuff is still valid. Okay, that's fine. I that is a very good move. I would appreciate it a lot more, I think, if it weren't for everything else. But that said, without a whole thing to read in front of me, there's only so much I can tell you that I think and that I can observe here.
Yeah. And to be fair, if it's not supposed to be out till September, I don't expect anybody to actually have all the answers right now.
Exactly. The old player's handbook is now available for 30. Okay, so 5th ed stuff is discounted. Wait, I may have spoken too soon. Nope, physical stuff is still the same price. Digital is 30, physical is 50. No, no, never mind. Wow, that is so not a good deal. An era where, because of your open source rules, people should be able to go out and grab this thing. The physical copy, a dated copy of dated rules, being $50 is a bridge too far on that front. So let's just say it negates the kudos. The weren't going to change anything anyway kudos they would have gotten for the, oh yeah, 5th ed still works fine. Okay, here we go. Finally. Official character sheets. Uh, may have spoken too soon.
Isn't that always the case?
Wow.
Oh wow.
Okay, seriously, I just wanted. They have a thing that says character sheets, resources for play, find downloadable character sheets, etc., but it's just the 5th edition ones. I'm like, that's not what I'm here for. That's literally not what I'm here for.
I'm actually looking at my shelf and all the books I got when I decided I wanted to DM, and I started realizing none of these are the same edition, and half of them don't even mesh together.
'Oh, there's the download for the character sheets. It's the product shot.
Oh,
Seriously? The product shot. What the hell? Wow, they can't. You think they would be trying not to drop the ball this time?
I mean they've already chucked the ball, so at this point, what's the point of keeping on?
50 character sheets. Enough sheets to cover the next 50 years of your D&D adventures. They don't know me very well. 50 years of character sheets. In the last 30 years, you do not want to know how many I've had.
No, I was just thinking, who makes that little character?
I've had some characters last a while. My Vampire the Masquerade LARP character, the first one I made, a gangrel, lasted 4 years.
I mean, I know people who, even when they're still running the current character, they're coming up with like 3 or 4 other characters almost every other day. They'll look at a Salt Shaker and be like, I just got a great idea for a character.
Is it assault and battery? Is it? Okay, so with reservations, it doesn't look too horrible, but the reservations I have are all based around the company.
Yeah.
And however much love I have for memories of the product, it's
They are tainted.
so don't get me wrong. There is worse stuff out there. Gygax's kid was trying to roll back a lot of the stuff in D20 and 5th edition because he found it too woke. His words.
There's that word again.
There it is. Uh, so one thing that's going on, and I don't know how true this is now, but the plan was at some point that we were going to see basically D&D was going to replace the term race with the term heritage. I have no personal problem with this, but it set a lot of people off. Like that, I know someone who is set off violently if you say soy milk in front of him because that doesn't sound right to him. Because there is no soy tit. Again, his words. So a lot of people choose very strange things to get pissed about. So just having these options, and there was going to be more with that. Like as an example, you could have had both elf and orc heritage because hey, I don't want my half orc to be half human.
Yeah, I remember that, and everyone's like, wait, do you get a really handsome orc or a really ugly elf?
Oh, look at what Darkson did. Okay, you know what? Darkson has 7-foot tall elves that tend to be brutal and refuse to use mounts because they run all over the desert, right? Along with cannibalistic halflings. Well, one of their signature characters is half elf, half halfling.
I always thought that was an option.
Well, the thing is, he looks very much like a half human, half elf. Or even a full human, considering Darkson characters can be mutated. But yeah, that would honestly give more options, and I'm all about more options. One thing Third Ed did that I love was templates. And, that's how I wound up when I did my Vampire the Masquerade crossover. I did it as a +0 ECL template, which I eventually bumped up to +1 when I realized I was doing it wrong. A conversation another day on what I was doing right and wrong there.
I gotta say, this is actually a hell of a lot more casual than I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah. Well, right now. There's also just the two of us, so we're just back and forth as opposed to the crowding of more than two, and not trying to talk over each other.
Yeah.
As all of you who've ever run a raid in WoW or SOTOR or FF know. Like, even a maps night can get with people interrupting each other constantly.
I think what I was more concerned about was the fact that, like, okay, hey, maybe the stream doesn't work. But on the off chance the stream does work, shit, we don't have a topic. Kind of forgetting that that's what we do.
I mean, it winds up in about the same place to an extent, but
Yeah. I'd say we're kind of more relaxed at the moment. We're not quite as manic as we normally are.
it's true.
Which isn't a bad thing. I think that's what's been burning us out lately is that we're trying to keep up that energy all the time.
Well, if I can quickly, but I'll come back to the D&D stuff, diverge for a moment. I went out and tried the new Beyond Chicken revival at Panda.
Ah, yeah, I remember you posting about that.
Uh, I mean, it wasn't a lot of chicken. It tasted a little funky. Like, I'm not completely unconvinced there wasn't some. I don't mean cooked in the same fryer as meat products. I'm not completely unconvinced that something didn't cross contaminate in a different, more meaningful way than just on the same surface or in the same vat.
It
And
honestly
I
doesn't surprise me.
and there's a bit of me thinking I think the staff gave me very little of the quote unquote chicken for reasons I'll go into another time.
Yeah,
For lack of a better way to put it, I think I upset them by being vegan.
which
I Yeah, which is why when we were talking about that earlier, that was honestly in the back of my mind the whole time.
yeah. Well, I mean, again, that's another situation with it's not that hard to just let people be, but also I hate restaurant staffs that do that. I was restaurant staff. I hate restaurant staff that specifically takes it out on people because you know, your fucking job, your livelihood is making people feel wanted and trying to get them to come back. You're not going to do that by being jackasses.
Also, don't you want to get tipped? Now, okay, so I was at a restaurant here in town, a Japanese restaurant. Normally, as a vegan, you get a decent chance at finding something you can eat at a Japanese restaurant. The miso soup is usually going to be a vegetable broth. There's tofu, there's all sorts of stuff. And there was milk and eggs and everything. I asked ahead of time, and I just said, I'm going to have to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's just not evident in the menu. I'm like, nothing on the wait staff there. It's not their fault. That's very much a management thing. But I have had a person just go, "Oh, you're vegan," right in front of me as I say this, as they're waiting on me. It's like, wow, stop buttering me up to try and get a tip almost instantly. I don't know how to feel about that,
Right?
especially as a former pizza driver.
I mean, that was the first thing we were always taught. No matter what job it was, I mean, I've worked several restaurants, but no matter which restaurant it was, when you're a cashier, especially, your first lesson is the upsell. You want them to feel like they should order more. You want them to feel like they should come back. You're not going to do that by being a prick.
And am I saying there is at no point a point where a food service employees should get angry visibly. No, there are plenty of points where if a food service employee drove a customer out for certain reasons, I would be like, I can get behind that.
Yeah.
Just being vegan and asking a question is not that.
Having been front of house and back of house and a server to a very light extent, yeah, there are absolutely times where you need to get angry and get nasty. But those are for a very specific set of customers.
Yeah, like a customer who tries to fondle an employee. Yes, absolutely, go off on them.
Oh, yeah, like when I was working at Chick fil A, we were in a theme park. So, first of all, Chick fil A is one of the most popular fucking restaurants in the world. Second, this is the biggest theme, well, not biggest, but one of the biggest theme parks in my state. Owned, formally, by a very large movie company. And then by Cedar Fair, so, no one gives a shit now. So when I say that I was serving 700 people a day in the middle of summer, I am not exaggerating.
I believe you.
Yeah. So I've had everything from the guy who decided to back me into a corner to try and intimidate me because park policy said that we do not give out straws for drinks. No, I don't care that you have a 3-year-old. Yes, I understand. Yes, I would love to give you one, but because park policy is that we don't have straws, we don't have straws.
Yeah, I mean, why is he going after you? You're not going to have a straw.
Yeah, I was like, okay, so let me rephrase that. Yes, we do have straws, but the park does not want us to give them to you, and corporates, the guys who actually do pay my check, tell me those straws are specifically for milkshakes. Did you order a milkshake? And he's like, no, I ordered a soda and a bottle of milk. I was like, well, then I can't give you a straw. He's like, well, why not? I was like, because we also have a no lids policy, so you don't have a lid on the soda to require a straw. And the bottle of milk, it is generally accepted that if you are buying a child a bottle of milk, that they are of age or ability to drink out of the bottle. I was like, so these are what they're going to tell you in order to say that you can't have a straw. I was like, so really, the easiest way to have done this would be exactly what everybody else in line did and lie to me. When I say, did you order a milkshake? The answer is yes.
Yeah, I truly hate it when someone goes off on an employee for policy.
Uh huh. I didn't have nearly as much fun with that guy. I ended up calling security on that guy, I think. But I didn't have nearly as much fun with him as I did the others, including the cousin of another employee who got angry and jumped the counter to start beating on said employee. I went to court for that one as a witness. The there were several fights, but then yeah, I think my favorite was the one where I had to pretend to be a manager because this guy was like just creeping and absolutely being completely inappropriate with one of my coworkers, like leaning over her register to like try and flirt with her. And so my manager, who was at the back of house, saw it and was like, "Hey, go out, pretend whatever you need to do. I don't care if you need to pretend to be the owner. I don't care if you need to pretend to be the president. Go out and make sure she's okay." I was like, "Yeah, okay." So he's sitting there and he's leaning over the register and he's like, "Hey, cutie, how you doing? Like, do you want to walk around the park with me when you get off?" And
Oh,
so
wow.
I leaned over the other edge of the register and I was like, "Hey, you about ready to take your break? I know you've been working, so, you know." You've been working about 4 hours now. She goes, yeah, I'm not ready for a break. I was like, no, you've been working about 4 hours, and you know company policy is that minors cannot work that long without a break. Guy caught the hint, looks at me, and I was like, yeah, dude, she's 15, and I'm a manager. He's like, oh, um, I'll be leaving.
Well played, sir.
I was like, if I have to, I'll get nasty. I don't give a shit. I'm just of the opinion find the alternate way. Be sarcastic, be smarmy, be a smartass. But unless they physically throw hands first, there is no reason to ever put your hands on a customer.
Hey.
You know, honestly, we said we weren't MST3K, but I do still kind of want to just stream a movie one night, just like with whoever I can get, and then just absolutely tear the shit out of it in a
A public
retrospective.
domain movie?
Oh, I don't even need public domain. I've got an Asylum movie. They sent me the digital copy. I
Oh,
was like, okay, all I said was my DVD was scratched and skipping, and you sent me a digital copy with absolutely no copyright protection or anything. I was like, okay. I know that's not permission. I know that's not saying it's under free use, but it's not saying that I can't use it.
free publicity.
I mean, it's the Asylum. I have never heard of them ever copyright striking anybody who goes after one of their movies. And that's probably exactly what it is. Like, the little clip I had you read a couple weeks back about the pap smears and shit. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. That's their attitude, so.
well, okay.
The problem I have is that movie. It's not really a problem. It's more of a. I've been writing that script for that movie for a while. I still can't think of a proper way to describe it. Because it is a mockbuster. But the thing is, I don't know if they're trying to make fun of just high school superhero movies in general, or if they were specifically making fun of the craft. Because The Covenant didn't come out for another 4 years.
I remember watching The Craft in high school with friends.
I remember when that was considered the goth movie.
And then it was The Matrix.
Yep. Blair Witch was in there for a hot minute for about like 3 months, I think.
Sounds about right.
I don't know how that's goth, honestly.
It's got the backdrop, like,
I guess it's because it has witch in it.
pretty much.
Speaking of the good old days and our generalizations and usage of terms we didn't actually understand.
Yes! So, back to D&D then. I have a strange way of bringing myself back on topic. It's a non sequitur to get back on topic.
I mean,
Figure that one out.
it leads in. Witch, D&D, mage class.
Ah, the mage class, which is part of the wizard overall group. Fun fact: in the second edition and first edition books, the grouping was wizard, but mage in second ed, magic user in first ed. These were the class names. You were literally a 5th level magic user. Now, There were other things like a gnome could only be an illusionist if they wanted to be a wizard. They had to specialize illusion. Other races could not be other classes. Like, no one could be a wizard except for a human, elf, half-elf, gnome. And the gnome had to be an illusionist. That was it.
But why an illusionist?
Excellent question. I don't know. When third edition came out, it was a free-for-all. Everyone could be every class, except for some prestige classes that were racial dependent. And, dwarven mages, we lost our mind. Oh wait, mages has been basically split into wizard and sorcerer? Ooh.
Okay, now I gotta ask. I'm assuming you've seen the two big D&D movies, not the recent ones back when the Satanic Panic was happening.
I saw the movie with, oh gods, what's his name? There was a Wayans brother in it.
Nope, that's the new one. I'm talking about Skullduggery and Mazes and Monsters.
I have read the script for Mazes and Monsters. I have not watched it.
Oh, I need to get you to watch that. Because I was about to say, I want to tear those apart as a D&D player, not just as
I
a...
I would be a first time viewer, so now one thing I did watch that came out about that time is Jack Chick's tracts about D&D and Patricia Polling's writings and interviews regarding D&D. That's the whole what Patricia Polling and her Jewish son going Nazi and committing suicide is basically the whole reason the Satanic Panic happened.
Mm. See, Mazes and Monsters is fun because A, it's Tom Hanks in his most un-Tom Hanks role.
Yes, I can't even picture him like that. Like, I should note, those of you in the audience, I've never watched any of the Dune movies or miniseries. I've only ever read the books. So
Yeah, well,
I know I am somewhat deprived in a
it
media
gives you
sense.
it gives you so many fun phrases to use. Like anytime someone starts talking about character classes, it's either Skullduggery's uh, class thing or it's Tom Hanks's speech to introduce his character. So Skullduggery had a scene where they were like, I am the dungeon master, and then what do you want to play? And the whole point of Skullduggery is that the guy goes insane because he's possessed by an ancient wizard. Not because of the game, it's a legit ancient curse. But he's apparently already possessed, so he just like has the most villainous face, blank expression, and the most deadpan voice. He just looks at the DMs like, I want to be the warlock. So it's that even if you've never
Which
seen the movie before, you're just like, our villain.
Warlock was not even a core class at the time. I'm trying to remember where Warlock even shows up in first edition, which was the edition. Sorry, AD&D first edition would have been the edition around the time that Mazes and Monsters was released.
Yeah. I think Skullduggery was a little further into the 80s. So yeah, Warlock was definitely at least a in the terminology.
It wasn't a core class in second ed. In fact, technically, it wasn't a core class in third ed. In third ed, Warlock saw release in the complete Mage book, which was presented so well that basically was being played by everyone, seeing as something of an arcane monk, seeing as it had energy blasts every round,
Yeah.
at what was effectively melee range to start. And then in fourth ed, we saw it enter as a core class in both fourth edition and later on that or the next year, Pathfinder.
Yeah, and then we have Mazes and Monsters with the For some reason, they have the friends who have been playing forever. So this is not a new group. They have played together forever. They know each other's characters because they're still using the same characters. I think it's three of them know each other, and there's only like two new people to the group. And so they get. That part doesn't make sense either because they have two new players with completely new characters joining an existing campaign with existing characters and are
I mean,
expecting it to all run fine.
I've seen it happen. Someone joins a campaign, they just give them a character of equivalent level and go run with it.
And that's my point. They didn't give them the character. They're like, you're going to be level 1 because you're new. And I was like, wait.
That's that that would be horrible. The kind of DM that would let that fly is a by the book DM who doesn't know better.
Yeah, I was like, hold on. So maybe it is a new campaign, but I was like, but you have this guy saying he's like a level 12 fighter. You've got that guy saying he's a level 20 whatever. And then you have Tom Hanks's character where he's like, I am Pardue, a holy man. On obtaining the 16th level, I have learned many spells and incantations. It like keeps going on. I was like, wait, so you have a level 16 holy man? Not even a cleric, a holy man who acts as cleric and a general white mage, but also has destruction spells? What is this game?
I have so many questions.
Yeah. I think the funniest bit is the fact that they keep getting the skullduggery and mazes and monsters get compared to each other, but like I said, skullduggery's, shall we say, fun on a bun, starts with a literal curse. The guy is possessed by his ancestor, so it's not like it's the game making him do it. Whereas Mazes and Monsters is a psychotic break caused by them LARPing in a cavern.
Sigh.
Now, to be fair, I also, again, you just said the kind of DM that does that is dumb.
Or young. I could have seen myself doing that when I was like up until 15, maybe.
Don't compare yourself to him yet because I have yet to reveal the fact that the LARP in the cave, he utilized elements that were already in the cave, including shoving a flashlight into an actual human skeleton.
Why?
So I see that scene, and everyone's like, well, why did Tom Hanks' character go crazy? It was like, to be fair, if I saw that shit, I'd go a little loopy. And that gives me the ever fun, beware the sacrilege.
I will never feel guilty for the ham-fisted, corny way I play my Sith ever again. And to be fair, I, I literally gave him the war cry, I am the Sithiest Sith that ever did Sith, which just gave the Jedi in the group a conniption fit.
The horrible part is, though, that does actually sound like something a Sith would say.
Well, depending. I mean, a Sith in the modern era, when Rule of Two, when they're trying to hide from the Republic, no. A Sith in the Old Republic era, maybe.
No, I mean in the new series where rules have gone out the window, he would absolutely scream that.
I'm doing it in an Old Republic era, so take that as you will. But I've technically been moved into a time frame with a modern era Jedi, i.e., someone who is between episodes 3 and 4. So, and I've gone multi-class Barbarian Mystic. I might just switch him over to Barbarian Paladin.
That era between 3 and 4, the era of, do we even know what a Sith is anymore?
Well, Vader isn't exactly known as a Sith. Palpatine definitely isn't.
Yeah, and that's what I love is we had that introduced and we all just kind of rolled with it because I cannot find one mention of the word Sith in the original trilogy.
Oh, they never did say that in the original trilogy. That got added in the EU.
Oh, I know. And that's what I'm saying. It's like we can accept Sith, but every other change, we gotta work us in, guys. I
Well,
mean,
okay,
it makes sense.
it was apparently in the first script and then got dropped.
Yeah.
It was Knights of the Sith.
Well, I mean, it makes sense because if you have the Jedi, why wouldn't you have their equivalent also be named? It's not like you just be like, ah, yes, over here are the good guys, the Jedi, and over here are the big scary mean guys with red laser swords.
What always got me years later was when Palpatine says in Return of the Jedi, "S lightsaber, such a Jedi weapon." He says right in front of his apprentice, a dark Jedi who has a lightsaber, and he himself is a dark Jedi because we didn't say Sith yet. And we would later see him using a lightsaber constantly. Well, not constantly, but pretty proficiently in Episode 3.
I find it funny that right as we started on this topic, I was going through my dash on my Xbox and the Dark Forces remaster popped up.
Uh, but yeah, this gets into the whole how do you roleplay? How do you avoid pigeonholing yourself? We talked about earlier.
Yeah.
I mean, I tried to play interesting characters. I played a character who was a rogue, and the only reason he was a rogue was because he was a locksmith.
I try to play characters that work within the setting, but are just off putting and random enough to where you can be like, yeah, okay.
I've done both extremely humane and extremely inhumane vampires. At a Gen Con 2022, someone handed me a pre-gen for a game I was in. It was a Zimichet with 9 humanity. I'm like, okay, we'll make this work. I made it work. But I've also played some of the most horrifying people ever on Paths of Enlightenment. Or just flat out next to no humanity.
Yeah. I love that Telegram just tells you that an account's deleted, but it doesn't actually tell you when or who they were. So we just get messages from deleted account.
Yeah.
I think going back to our D&D again, that was another thing I had with the party was that a lot of times when I was running the campaign that you helped me with, the party was like, I'm just going to go out and do this. And it was like this boldest brass action, anything from like rioting in the streets to like complaining to somebody outright. And I was like, hey, guys, need I remind you that the setting you're in is an extremely classist and racist system where pretty much all of you except the rogue are considered less than shit? Do you really want to try doing that action in the heavily guarded town square where there was just a murder?
Yeah, your players amaze me. I don't know how they would react to one of my campaigns.
I don't know. Hopefully, the paladin would at least remind me that he was actually a paladin this time. That was the part that made me laugh because we had the one guy, and like every time he had downtime, he would start tinkering with things. So I actually started thinking that he was a arcanist. What is the word I'm looking for?
Alchemist?
Artificer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no. I was like, so okay, we have a resident artificer, so he's just gonna tinker. And then at one point he's like, "Hey, so like we still have to figure out what oath I broke." I was like, "Oath you broke? What the hell are you talking about?" And he's like, "I'm an oathbreaker paladin. Remember?" I was like, "No, honestly, I didn't because you haven't done one thing to remind me that you're a paladin."
That is one hell of an oath breaker.
And then he never could decide what oath he broke. I was like, "You couldn't even find a god and then just decide to go the complete opposite of their beliefs. It's not that hard to be an oathbreaker."
You don't even have to be evil or have gone done an evil thing. Like, let's say I'm a paladin who is dedicated to a city god, and suddenly I decide I want to be a druid. That would technically be oath breaking if I went through with it.
I mean, I like the fact that technically a paladin just needs to be aligned with a god. It doesn't necessarily have to be a just and righteous god.
Not since 4th edition, at least.
Yeah, this was like, why don't you just choose a chaotic evil god and then not be chaotic evil?
Let me add that to the list of things I like about 4th edition. Yes, paladins no longer had a set alignment. Although there were optional paladin alignments back in previous editions like 3rd, they were always of the 4 extreme alignments: lawful good, lawful evil, chaotic good, chaotic evil.
Yeah. I had just created them, their little base on the surface too, because they wanted a base. And I was like, okay, I've got several presets. They're like, no, no, we want like a mansion. And I was like, oh, well, we're getting into player demands. Okay, fine. And they wanted like a mansion with an attached cathedral. Well, no, detached cathedral, and some traps and a dungeon and some secret rooms and a library and water feature on a cliff and all this shit. I was like, oh, okay, okay. Let me see what I can create.
Okay, they're just being kind of weird there. I mean, my that gangrel I played for 4 years. Do you want to know what his lair was? His haven.
Hmm.
He slept in an office chair. He slept in an office chair in a part of a textile factory that no one ever went to. That someone gave him a blank check job in. That when that vampire got killed who owned the factory, I had to scramble like hell to get a bunch of werewolf friends of mine to buy said factory so I could keep my haven. And what did I do? How did I commemorate this? I finally bought the merit blush of health out of, and now the vampire is snoring away in an office chair because he breathes. So anyone who wanders into this vampire's haven, this completely unsunlit, rust-ridden, good gods, who the hell lives here? It's not that I think they're dead, it's that I think they're a slob, is snoring in an office chair in the most horrible, uncomfortable looking position ever. There is no bed, there is no coffin, there is only a complete lack of class, and I am here for it.
So basically, what I did was made it an old cult compound. And I was like, you know what?
Oh my.
I was like, let's make it not just an old cult compound. Let's make it a cult compound that has been fought over by at least 4 different cults. All of whom,
And the ATF.
I was like, all of whom still have effigies and altars on the ground. So it's like, over here we're gonna have the shadow cult. Over here we're gonna have the cult of the desires. Over here we're gonna have the betrayers, and over here we're going to. I'll decide that one later. It'll probably be like the moon goddess or something.
Okay, this reminds me of a horrible, horrible concept I've seen online recently, and if I'm ever in a Wraith the Oblivion game again, I'm going to make this horrible character.
Mm-hmm.
It's a ghost who manifests blood in writing on the walls, but instead of things like "get out" or "I'll kill you all," it's "I believe in you. You've got this."
The ghost that reminds you to take your meds.
And the ghost leaves rent. Unfortunately, it's the ghost of money, so it's little ethereal bills that fade away. They're clearly not real, and when you take them outside the house, they fade into ectoplasm anyway,
Bitch
or
is playing with
corpus, depending
Monopoly
on what
money.
game you're in. Yes.
Yeah, I basically was like, all right, if you guys want this manor and you want it to be so convoluted, I'm gonna make it the most creepy fucking place ever. I was like, so the cathedral is gonna be like dedicated to a god of justice, but the cults have, fucked it up and done shit. Except the holy radiance still permeates over the statue of whatever god it was originally made for. I was like, and then because several gods have all laid claim, there's always ravens in the sky and in the trees, there's snakes all over the ground, there's bugs everywhere, possibly a few undead corpses. Who the fuck knows? There's probably a lich in here somewhere.
The horrible things you can do. And I'll admit, I like to do ridiculous things with liches and vampires. The things I did with Strahd, the things I had been thinking about running you all through if I did a Ravenloft one shot for Halloween.
I still had, I think it
Though to
was
be
the.
honest, I don't think it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I the horrible thing you were going to find. Do you mind spoilers for what will probably never be?
No, yeah, go ahead.
You were going to interrupt a fight with Strahd, or have it interrupted, one that you were involved in, by having a demon that none of you were expecting show up. Strahd says, "Oh, you brought a demon." You guys going, "We didn't bring him." Wait, he's not with me. And then suddenly, for whatever reason, Strahd gets gated out, a portal under him, kind of like Loki gets happened to him in Ragnarok. And he winds up going to the modern Earth, maybe back during the late 90s. If the players have to follow him because he's escaped from Ravenloft effectively. But it's been like 5, 10 years he's been on Earth. So by the time the players find him, he's gone through a lot of change. They find him at an open mic night where he is whining not about Tatiana or even his younger brother, but occasionally his older brother Sturm, who's barely mentioned but who is in the original source material, and saying, "You don't know what it's like or what I've gone through and all this. Anyway," with a thick Barovian accent, "here's Vanderval." But the players have to drag him back to Barovia because the land's going to disintegrate and kill everyone there with it if he's not back. There were many ways to resolve it, but yeah, it was going to be played up like a Nodwick campaign. It's D&D by Mel Brooks. That's what I was going for.
I'm pulling up my D&D hard drive right now because there was a one shot that I wanted to run, but I never could quite wrap my head around it because they wrote it so fucking circular.
What's the name of the adventure?
It's a third party from what is the website?
Green Ronin, Cobalt
Drive.
Press.
It's Drive Through RPG.
Okay, one of their vault thingies.
Yeah. Let me see here. There's my D&D folder. D&D. Drive Through RPG. Look at all the vampires.
Other vampire villains I've created. This one's an antagonist. He's built partly off of my old gangrel, and it's a vampire who gets up. The hunters, assuming the players are vampire hunters, all attack him, and none of the attacks work because he's too damned old and powerful. And he starts critiquing them all on what they're doing wrong.
Okay, I found it. The name of the campaign is Thick as Thieves, and that is thick with two C's.
Oh gods. Is this by the guy who does yet another fantasy gaming comic?
Let me see. The unions of hirelings, henchmen, and hangers-on. Ah, here's the description.
Found it by U.S.S Games.
Yes. The description: a recent heist has left Thieves Guild Annex 109 with a bit more booty than it can handle. Competition among thieves, what it is in the city. 4 months ago, footpad first class, Overoften Tommy, seeking a performance edge, defrauded the monks of the Golden Dome Dojo of Arnold of their esoteric protein powder. Back at the hideout, Tommy turned the powder over to the hideout Tash Slinger Three Thumb Marty, who whipped the powder up into a sufferable concoction. But without the monk's recondite training program, the thieves of Annex 109, now pushing hard on 22 stone of cultivated mass, have found less of an edge and more of a rounding off. So as word of the thieves' ample conditions spreads along the murky alleyways and rumor stews over wine cups and crummy taverns, the monks take notice and exact revenge.
I don't know what to think. Also, someone made a game called Panic at the Dojo.
Mm. Oh, here's how the protein powder works. The esoteric protein powder of the monks of the Golden Dome Dojo. In their quest to acquire the physique of Arnold the mightily thewed, a demigod among weakling mortals, the monks synthesize the ultimate mass-gaining powder via boss esoteric processes. When consumed, usually in one-pint shake form, the following effects apply. Pumped! Gain extra movement or attack per round must be taken. Save versus spells or be compelled to lift something heavy nearby as this action. Lasts 1d3 turns. Get some. Use lowers NPC reactions modifier by 2. Intelligent enemies attack user first. Cultivate mass. Unless 10 strength or force checks. Oh, no. 10 strength checks or force doors tests are passed per day of consumption, the user amasses 1d3 stone in extra weight.
Ah. Also, congrats on finding a use for stone as weight. I want to just give a quick plug to a series of books I did find on DriveThruRPG and loved. There's a subcategory under the Storyteller's Vault. They are called None More Dark Publishing. They have made their own versions of the clan books for Vampire the Requiem. That's 5 clans: Gangrel, Deva, Ventru, Meket, Nosferatu. And my gods, what they've made is just honestly some of the best stuff. easily rivaling and then sometimes exceeding the original White Wolf and Onyx Path crew's writings. I don't say that lightly. It's truly good stuff.
I like how they even include a mention that in one of these rooms there is a skull with an engraved warning on its forehead of "Do not animate," but then it doesn't say shit about why.
In Eye of the Beholder 2, which was released in the early 90s, you could find random skeletons and resurrect them. You never knew what you were going to get.
And I think that's maybe what's annoying me about it is like, is there a reason we don't animate it? Is it just up to me? Is there a roll table I'm missing somewhere?
There were some truly amazing things then.
Oh,
And
and also I
sometimes,
have, what is this? Is this an actual recipe book or is this just a... Ah, yes. I have the actual poster and recipes for cooking unicorn 2 ways.
with that horn, it's its own rotisserie.
PDFs for infernal contracts. Shit, I even have something in order for you to insert a Pride Festival into your D&D campaign. Don't know why you would want to do it, but I have it in case we do.
Solution. Write your game like it's Baldur's Gate 3 or She-Ra Princesses of Power. Both of which handle non non-stereotypical binary relationships, non-monogamous, non-hetero, as they are perfectly normal and no one remarks on them at all.
Wait, is this my Dragonborn Tabaxi? Did I actually name him?
You know how the Dragonborn started?
I do not.
Okay, so the Dragonborn were eventually first in Races of the Dragon, a third edition book, and the idea was that someone of another race goes through a series of rituals to basically look like they did before, but with scaled over. The race stats are the same regardless of your original race, and you're effectively a Dragonborn. Now imagine a Dragonborn with the basic framework of a dwarf, or a gnome, or an elf, or a human, or a half-orc. So it was basically a standard mortal race draconiing themselves, almost like a dragon disciple of third ed.
Oh wow, I actually modeled him on my recently deceased cat.
Damn.
All but the name. So I named him Toulouse. He's a Dragonborn Tabaxi, which I still haven't figured out how I'm supposed to balance that. Copper Dragon Heritage is a rogue with the homebrew ex-Inquisitor background.
So many questions.
Go ahead, shoot. I bet you I can probably tell you.
It'd be better to see it unveiled in game.
Well, first I have to decide, do I actually want him to be a rogue? Or do I want him to be a cleric?
He's an ex-inquisitor. Make him a bard.
I do the ex-inquisitor because I love doing the hook within the homebrew, where it was like, yes, yes, the church did strip your authority, but only the cities that actually are huge within the church know that. You're out in the boonies. Nobody knows that you're not an inquisitor anymore.
To paraphrase Kevin McAllister, my church is in heaven and I'm in New York.
Basically, yeah. Because, see, the way I'm thinking of it is if I ever do manage to find some way to actually create a half race of a dragonborn tabaxi, you can either go with the tabaxi's natural strength of dexterity, or you lean into the dragonborn and you get your strength and for some god awful reason charisma. But then you have to decide what your heritage is anyways.
I mean, a thing I would pull off of to start. There is no half dragon race or template in 5th edition. The Dragonborn are their own things.
Yeah, I know. That was the hardest bit.
But 3rd Ed did have a half dragon template.
Yeah, that's what made me
And
think of this again.
and yeah, there's a half dragon NPC template in the monster manual for 5th Ed. So and
But
keep in mind,
hmm,
3rd edition answered a lot of questions like, does my half dragon have a human face or a dragon face? And it was basically like, what do you want them to have? As long as it fits the rules, it's fine.
yeah, and that was the hardest bit is that everyone uses the half dragon, but because that was before tabaxi were a thing, nobody knows how to mix the tabaxi in with it. They always mix orc or human or god forbid a halfling.
In 3rd Ed, there were Tabaxi, and adding the half dragon template would have added a +2 ECL, and that would have been the end of it, regardless of what color the dragon was. In 5th edition, we get weird and dicey.
Yeah, because 5th edition is all about being twitchy with things.
It's not impossible, but it's doable.
Yeah, it's just very, very hard. And like I said, it always depends on which side of the heritage do you want to go for. Because if you go with the Tabaxi, I would say rogue. But you go with the dragon, I'd say cleric. Mostly I do it because it's pisses me off. And I'm like, if I ever
Okay,
present this to a DM, they're probably gonna get pissed off.
I have a methodology here.
Hmm.
We have to map it out as a class. You have to assign a certain number of levels to the powers you would get from being a half dragon. That includes any hit dice. Once you do that, you multi-class it with the Tabaxi's existing classes.
Hmm.
And that would work. It's picking off of 3rd Ed, because case in point, a Mind Flayer was a +8 ECL, +8 racial hit dice. So that meant a first level Mind Flayer was the equivalent of a 17th level character like a human fighter. So they actually created a Mind Flayer class with 16 levels, only 8 of which gave hit points to use.
That makes sense, yeah.
Vampire did something similar. It was a +8 ECL. Or was it 6? It's been so long. And it was different, I think, from 3rd Ed to 3.5. Very different from my +1 ECL version for just using Vampire the Masquerade, where the ECL could go up depending on what your generation was.
That actually, it does dovetail into what I was considering with my other friend who DMs, because we were talking about it, and then we got into the whole, well, what would it look like? Would it look more draconic or more feline? And then we were just like, well, maybe it just depends on which side of the nature you lean into. So, if you start leaning more into the dragonborn nature, it'll slowly begin to, like, it'll gain scales, or at least a scale pattern. Maybe it develops wings, it gets the sharper fangs.
So there was a character I had written up to be played in a Doctor Who role playing game, and mechanically he was basically human. Mechanically, racially he was half human, half ice warrior. Now think about that for a second. Ice warriors are basically lizard people, and this is before they got into the weird physiology for them in the new Doctor Who series. Back when they basically were just lizards who had usually tended to wear a lot of armor, but were otherwise human shaped. I basically went with, he looks like a very scaly humanoid, but he has a full head of hair. He's half Martian, he's half human. He was raised in the future in Chicago, and he wears a jacket with the Chicago flag on it. He comes off as Bill Murray in any one of the movies where Bill Murray is a protagonist. And so, yeah, all it came down to appearance-wise was, yeah, the hair is just on his head. The only exception was whenever he would go into a shedding period, which Ice Warriors don't do, but being half human, he just kind of weirdly did, and he didn't understand it himself. And as, while he molted, there was a bit of hair under there, like more like peach fuzz than anything else. And people would comment on it, and he would go, yeah, I've always thought it was kind of like nerve endings until someone pointed out it's actually hair. I was like, that makes no sense. Hair is on the top of my head and it looks nothing like that. And someone else going, well, why the hell would you think it was nerf endings? It's like, I don't know. I was a kid. Now I'm a combat medic. I know better. I didn't when I was 5. Just, random stupid shit he would mention about that if it came up in conversation.
Yeah.
Also, does anyone want a spare chest piece? I would just hold up the skin that had been on my torso and probably have someone just slap me in the face and say, put that damn thing away. That's disgusting. And saying, waste not, want not. And if I'm a doctor's companion, the doctor just goes by at that point and goes, yoink, thank you, I have just the thing in mind. Making everyone afraid, with my character just going, see, that man knows how to use everything.
I have rediscovered my writing prompt folder, which is just
Ooh.
from character prompts to scenarios. I feel like I should just go through these with you one night, just to see the evil shit we could come up with.
If you thought my reaction by the kobold to her husband being dead and then later reanimated was bad.
I mean, this one is fairly simple, which is just, she stared at him, holding in one hand her favorite teddy bear, the other his pistol, and whispered, "Hi, Dad."
I'm reminded of a scene from Something Positive, the webcomic. There's a bunch of cat girls at a rampage at an anime convention, and they found a guy who portrays their favorite character in a sitcom they like.
You read Something Positive?
Yes, I've been reading it about since it came out. And, the main character's like, don't worry, they're not going to kill Pepito. They love him. He's their idol. And it shows them standing over him just as they're ripping his limbs off, killing him. He's got a stark look of panic on his face, and the little cat girls with blood in their mouths are screaming, "Communion!"
This one I feel like we can all do, because of our real lives. Which is, a ruling tradition in peacetime, The ruler grows their hair long. In war, they cut it short. So it says, a ruler with long hair is held in great esteem for defending the peace. The traditional declaration of war is for the ruler to send their cut off hair to the enemy ruler. This statement carries greater weight than the longer the hair. To receive long hair says that you have angered one who is slow to anger, that you have incurred a wrath not easily woken.
It's an interesting concept, except in magic games where someone casts haste on their head.
I was thinking, just imagine putting that in a Rapunzel scenario.
Or a Ranma one-half scenario. Um, those of you who know the manga and a bit of the anime, you know, and I'm not going to go more into that.
We don't need to.
We would never come up from that Pandora's box.
This one, honestly, I would give to you just to see what you do with the character.
Oh
Says,
dear.
I want a character in a zombie apocalypse setting who is just inexplicably good at survival tasks. They know how to make a fire from scratch, they cook insanely well, can hunt, skin animals, make cheese, butter, and all of that, but gradually the people in their group begin to notice they never seem to catch pop culture references or allusions to normal everyday historical facts about the pre-apocalypse world. And everyone has all these theories about, like, what did they do before? Why are they like this? How do they just automatically know how to sew clothing, milk a cow, and build quality shelter, but they don't know who Chris Evans was? They've never heard of BuzzFeed. They can't drive. They've apparently never seen Star Wars or Star Trek. Who in the hell is this person and why are they so weird? And eventually it comes out. When the apocalypse happened, this person took the opportunity to blend in and reinvent themselves. In the old world, they were Amish.
Damn. Well done. You have no idea why I was thinking you were going at first, and I have a concept for you that is an NPC only version of this, and terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
Still has all the survival skills, all that, but captures zombies, sits them down, and tries to force them to learn how to survive. He's feeding the zombies forcefully the milk, cheese, and everything else he catches.
A
He has
zombie scavenger,
also
you said?
gradually be he has also gradually become immune. I'm cribbing this a bit from Dead Alive,
Yeah, yeah, I could see that.
but he's not sane. He honestly thinks he's just reteaching people how to live. He doesn't know everyone's zombies. He literally thinks that everyone just needs to be retold, re-brought up. He thinks they've regressed to childlike states. He is weirdly immune. He's got obvious, he's been bitten, he's been clawed, but it won't go through to him. Technically, the man is a psychopath. His brain doesn't work correctly, which isn't much of a surprise, but it basically means that wouldn't matter if his immune system could fight the thing or not. It can't affect him because the long-term effect, zombify him, doesn't work. In theory, he could bite someone and transmit the virus, but it's not something that comes to his mind. Because he's not a zombie. Why would he bite anyone?
Then I have the giant list of chapter names. Some of these I've actually used, and some of these I would give you for a campaign name and just let you run with them. Like,
Okay.
in the Human League, the Piano Man, give him hell. Today on Dr. Phil, a traitor. Truth doesn't change the way you lie. I'm Poison, Mr. Brightside. Through the Blinds, Groovy Baby. Eat it, Twilight. Habitual Gestures, Whiplash. Well, that didn't work. Aw, damn it. Picked the wrong side. Bee Stung Heart. 100 times a therapist was needed. Things historians pretend aren't gay. Fuck it up, player name. I'm packing up my crayons and leaving. That one I would honestly give to Olaf.
The one that got my attention so far has been Piano Man.
Because that could be so much fun.
Oh God, I'm thinking a horrifying giant player piano being driven around by the person playing it, and it runs through entire towns.
What is that song? 1,000 miles.
I would walk
No, 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 no.
500.
The other one.
I'd walk 1,000 miles for one of your smiles.
Maybe it's not 1,000 miles. I know the music video I'm thinking of, and I know the piano run. What is it? I know it's the da 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 da. I need you.
If I could walk a
That one.
thousand miles.
Yeah,
Okay, that thing.
yeah.
Making my way downtown.
Exactly, because that's the music video for it. She is driving downtown on her piano. That's what came to my mind.
See, I was thinking a horrible piano version of the Undead Paganini. Okay, so there's a horror movie where this classic violinist who existed in real life but was often said to have gotten his talent from a pact with the devil is doing exactly that, slitting people's throats with his violin bow and using their blood to power his violin as he creates new music. This is that same thing but with a giant piano that runs over people.
Let's see.
To be filed next to that Italian movie, a horror movie about a bed that eats people.
Ah, Deathbed, the bed that eats.
Yep.
Not to be confused with the Joe Estevez version, Deathbed. Yes, that's right, there is two of them.
I know. I
One
know.
is considerably more rapey.
Okay, one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. There was a Jack Chick pamphlet that is, about the dangers of Christian rock.
You know, you could have just stopped it at there was a Jack Chick pamphlet, and I would have just
Oh.
believed anything you said after that.
And this band runs into an amazing agent named Lou Cipher.
Why is it always Lucifer?
So they throughout this MST3King of the thing, they're hinting that Satan is actually Batman. And towards the end, he's saying things like, "I'm going to take you to hell for justice." I thought, no, no, no. I want to run with this. I want to run with a devil that's trying to moonlight as a superhero. Not saying he's good at it, just saying he's trying.
Wait a minute, isn't that just the entire plot of Lucifer?
Or Spawn.
Yeah, true.
But basically, it's Satan himself, and every night he's going off out in a Batman costume.
Wait, also Black Butler.
Okay. But this is Satan. He's having these weird moments where he's genuinely trying to help. And he's not, but he's trying.
Reminds me of those stories where you get the dyslexic kid writing their letters to Santa and one gets delivered to Satan.
Okay. I think I've seen this where it's like, "Mommy, Santa got my letter." No, Satan got your letter. And we're seeing some hints.
Actually, I think the cutest version of it was somebody on Tumblr wrote their version, where like the kid did write Satan because he's dyslexic, but Santa still knows because Santa's all-knowing. He's a fae. So like you get this standoff where Satan and Santa are under the tree, and Santa's like, "It's my job. I'll deliver the present." And Satan's like, "Fuck you. It was delivered to me." And it's like, "I got the letter. It was addressed to me. I'm doing it."
Just add Jesus and it's a Three Stooges film waiting to happen.
Jesus would immediately be like, "Now, Santa, it is your job. However, if Lucifer wants to be giving, it is addressed to him."
Oh, gods. No, no, it gets worse. Satan is trying to be Batman, and Jesus just looks at this and goes, "Nope, nope. If I try and take him out of his immersion, he'll break. I have to play into it." And Jesus starts dressing up as the Joker.
Wait, but
He's
Jesus doesn't have to be the Joker. Jesus is just Jason Todd.
oh gods. But I can see Jesus trying to be a benevolent version of Joker a lot more easily than he could a benevolent version of Red Hood.
Okay, what other fun titles do we have in here? Seize the Day, that's SEAS. A Guide to Giving Up. We could definitely have fun with that one. This one, I would want the entire campaign. Everyone has to be undead. Maybe a lich, maybe a zombie. Everyone has to be undead. It's called Don't Die This Time.
I have another idea for a campaign. You're going to hate it.
Hmm.
Everyone has to play a hero or villain from the original He-Man and the Masters of the Universe series. I actually want even spread across the board of both. And I want He-Man and Skeletor in the party.
I mean, obviously, if I had to do the impression, I would have to be Skeletor. But if I had to pick a character, I'd just be Hordak. Because then I could just come in, fuck up, and never show up for the rest of the campaign.
I mean, technically, that's the origins of the He-Man and the Masters of the Universe until we get to She-Ra.
Yeah. Let's see, what else do we have? How to keep wanting without ever getting. Please don't touch my arm with your arm. Or how I died on a public bus.
To be fair, I think I wouldn't allow Hordak to be used because I'd rather keep Hordak in the actual antagonist section.
True, true.
Like Skeletor, once you get down into his actual history, like even before we get into any of the sequel series or the remakes, he's still going to become Keldor. They hinted that enough in the comic books at the time, the ones that came with the figures, so we can run with that.
I don't want to be nice. I want to be evil.
Don't worry, Skeletor, Christmas only comes once a year.
This one could be taken so many ways. Nasty, dirty slush. You could do a horror. You could do a sad romance. You could do just a depression story. You could do Smeagol.
Oh gods. Other horrible, horrible ideas.
Did you just think of Gollum in a sad rom-com? Because I did.
Smeagol is filmed before a live studio audience.
Which is hilarious because the next title is Don't Worry, It Only Seems Kinky the First Time. Which is then
Oh,
followed by Don't Look.
okay, hear me out. Smeagol has an apartment in New York City. His neighbor, who fills the role of Kramer, is played by Fran Drescher.
Oh my god.
Why I say the role of Kramer? I don't mean she literally plays Kramer, but she takes that sort of role.
Nope, I'm
She's
sorry.
not a romantic interest for our main character. She's just instead playing someone as absolutely insane and off their gourd as Kramer would be.
With those three titles in that order, The Nasty Dirty Slush, It Only Seems Kinky, and then Don't Look, all I can imagine is a running gag where Smeagol will be in the middle of something, preferably something stressful and dramatic, and then you just hear Drescher's like orgasmic moans from the wall. Because it's New York, the apartment walls are shit.
Surprise, everyone! This is now a moral oral episode.
Anomia! I'd look it up, but I forgot. Respect all, trust few. Dead Man's Floats. Embrace for impact, and possibly my favorite, let's disappoint each other.
Hang on one sec. I got someone calling. Entertain our audience. Quickly!
What am I supposed to do? Wait, is there even anybody in the audience still?
Let's find out. I'll be right back.
There are two people watching. Possibly just us, but hello if they are people who are not me and Rascalin. At this point, I could probably say if it's anybody I know, text me, Discord me, Telegram me, let me know you are alive and how you like the live stream. And in fact, if you have a YouTube account and you wish to chat, please feel free. We do have a Discord, which is what me and Rask are running this through, but I'm not quite ready to open it up yet. This is our test run, testing the waters, seeing how comfortable we can get. And that's it. That's about all I've got for prearranged smarm. Also, for anyone who is watching currently or who watches this at a later date, if you get this far into the episode, A, comment down below the word popcorn, because why not? And B, let me know what kind of stuff you'd like to hear us talk about, especially me and Rascalin, because obviously we can rant and rave for hours. So give us some ideas and let's have some fun with this, because this is something I've been wanting to do for a while. I'm just happy that I finally can do it and that I finally got the courage to run it on my channel. And if there's anybody listening from our Pirates audience, hello! How are you doing? I know this is a lot of dinner, but give me one moment. I'm sorry about that. Had a little coughing fit. For those of you that celebrate, I hope everybody had a happy 4th of July. And as I was saying earlier, I got a fuse burn on my thumb and the blister popped, so dealing with that. Raw skin is always fun, especially since it's on my dominant thumb, so everything I do is rubbing at it. This is kind of why I don't stream on my own, honestly. I get to a point where I just don't know what to talk about. I don't have a topic. I don't know what to say. And I am terrified of just sitting here with long pauses between things. But I also don't want to ruin my voice by just rambling on about nothing, so I'm gonna have to get over that eventually. I can get away with it over on Olaf's channel because there's always someone there to ramble or take my place, but this is my channel, so I can't just say, hey, I'll be back and leave for 15 minutes.
I'm back.
Welcome back.
What did I miss? Did gamers show up?
That might have helped.
So what I'm hearing is you've been doing stand-up.
More or less, yes. I have been doing horrible plugging and begging about what they want to see on the stream and apologizing for all of our mistakes and also long periods of dead air.
Yeah, eventually you learn how to fill up the dead air. I mean, the gods know I fucked up enough on community radio over 20 years. I learned little phrases and things just to fill up time, how to approximate how much time I'll have between songs,
And I think
when I'm
that's
going live, what I'm filling up that time with.
yeah, and I think that's the biggest challenge with streaming right now is I don't have songs to take a break with, and until I can figure out how to rig up a screen share or something, it's not like I'm playing games or anything, so there's nothing to entertain them. There is a fox staring deeply into their soul, and yes, that is AI generated, but it's not like I'm using it as a logo or anything, so I don't personally mind it.
What does the fox say?
We don't say much. We just stare and make you think that we know much more than we actually do.
So like an owl.
No, owls are pricks. They want to know more than they actually do. Foxes just kind of stare, and we look like we know all the answers in the world, but really in our brain, all that's going on is a test pattern.
Animals I've accidentally run into face first include owls and bats.
Why does the bat not surprise me, honestly?
But neither of them attacked me. It was just a pure accident.
I know, and I'm kind of picturing that now. Just you walking in the woods and suddenly a bat in your face.
Oh, no, porch.
Oh, even better.
Not even my porch. This is when I was a teenager.
Question
Both
is,
of
did you
them.
apologize?
I think I said ow. I will agree the owl seemed more hostile afterwards. The bat just wanted to get away. But things I've been attacked with, or by, I've been attacked by a dove.
Yeah, makes sense.
And it didn't even make sense. It was in the middle of the day, nowhere near any trees or forest. I was actually on a public sidewalk
You know,
in Orlando.
you just reminded me. Remember how I was saying earlier that the Chick-fil-A that I worked at was in a theme park, but I didn't want to name the theme park?
Go on.
I know how to tell you which theme park without actually naming it. This theme
Oh.
park is quite famous because we had a rather interesting, spectacular incident happen in the 90s involving a celebrity and wildlife.
Oh.
We are the theme park where Fabio got hit in the face with a pigeon.
Oh. Well, that's not the one I was thinking of.
I don't know which one you were thinking of then.
You might not want to. I might
Maybe.
also be mixing it up with something positive in my head.
I don't know. All I know is that that is our claim to fame. Is we've had a lot of bands come in. We've served everyone from Bruce Willis to Britney Spears, things like that. Because again, we were owned, and I'll just say it now, we were owned by Paramount for a while until they sold to Cedar Fair. So we had celebrities in a lot. But yeah, Fabio was there and riding a roller coaster, and in the middle of the roller coaster, he gets hit in the face with a pigeon.
Wow.
Yeah. It was big news back then because it disfigured him.
Like, not severely. I mean, I've seen him in recent years, and he doesn't look too different aside from the passage of time.
And that was the thing. Everyone was like, it just, like, his nose is bloody, sure. Like, he has a gash, but, like, it's not like he's missing half his damn face. Come on. But it's Fabio.
I mean, there's a reason you can't pull off the Two-Face origin story with the flock of pigeons.
Now, a flock of crows, on the other hand.
Okay, but everyone would agree that would be kind of awesome.
It would. That would be an amazing gothic Batman. And I'm going to stand by that. Anybody who just tried to correct me by saying that Batman is already gothic, I will fight you. Batman is not gothic. He is dark and he is noir. He is not gothic.
Tim Burton's version of Batman, the movie, is gothic, though the character is not necessarily.
Yeah, his Gotham is amazingly gothic. And I bet you that's not even because it was a stylistic choice. He just saw Gotham and then just saw goth and was like, yes.
This will determine how I make movies for the next several years, decades even.
The question being, will Johnny Depp ever do another Tim Burton movie?
Probably.
I was about to say, that's a sucker bet. All right, I think we're winding down, but hey, we
Yeah.
finally got back to our normal mark.
About 3 hours in?
Yeah, what are we at actually?
3 hours and 15 almost.
Yeah, my God. I knew we could do it. Well, I think I'm going to call it here, though. So, do you want to say your good night, sir?
Tomorrow night, Over the Edge on Community Radio for East Central Illinois, 90.1 FM, WEFT Champaign. Streaming online at new.weft.org/listen.
Thank you so much, everybody who did tune in and everybody who is listening later. We are going to try and make this a more regular thing, or at least I am. If Rask wants to join me, that would be amazing. I may shoot for
Like,
Sundays. I may shoot for the middle of the week. I don't know. We'll talk about that.
all right.
So, as it is, Good night, everybody. Thank you for tuning in, and we shall see you